There.
Lesbians in China.
Huh?
So I just ran a headline.
Yeah, I'm awake now. Okay. I guess we should say hello to the people.
Hello, the people.
Hello to the people. Yeah.
You were the people. Now you're just scum.
Yeah, welcome to American Free Lesbian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're selling our toilet rolls of the Constitution,
Yeah.
printed on both sides, and have the American one and possibly the Magna Carta, where it was, on the other side.
Well, they invalidated it. We're just wiping with it.
Yeah. I just use it as toilet roll. At least it's got a use then.
It has some purpose now.
That's it.
I don't know. Oh. I gotta go to sleep earlier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Caribbean had an article about the Turks are sending humanitarian aid now with the Turkish Navy and all that. But, did someone explain what humanitarian aid is to Turks? Do they know what that is? I mean, what happens when they finish raping the Palestinians?
So they haven't exactly got good history of humanitarian.
No, I'm not sure they know what that is.
No. This is sending humanitarian aid to Gaza. So they
Right.
can get rampaged by the Israeli commandos. Oh, cool. So that's how it's going to be. Everybody's going to send humanitarian aid to the gays.
No. I mean that the Turks will rape everybody they run into.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're gay or not.
No. I mean, that's what's going to happen. They're going to send humanitarian aid to the gays, because Gaza is an anagram of gays. G-A-A-Z.
Right.
Gays. Yeah.
Well, another reason for the Turks to be confused about this issue.
Possibly, yeah.
They're not that bright.
Like, they're naturally attracted to it. The smell or something coming off it or something.
Did you see Lawrence of Arabia? You know that movie where a British sitting officer tricked Arabs into giving
I've seen about 10 seconds of it.
Well, what happens is Lawrence convinces the Arabs to get rid of one group of Turks so they can install another group of Turks and pretend to be Jews.
Mm.
Because what you want in Palestine is Turks.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. But they had to get rid of the first group of Turks to put in the second group of Turks. The Khazarian Turks?
Yeah.
Because the Ottoman Turks were already there. You'd think that they could get along, but, the Turks don't get along with anybody. It's true.
So yeah, all these ships are going to be sent by different countries, and they're all going to be, quarantined by Israel, and the Israeli commandos are going to stamp all over their melons.
Or they could stamp all over the Israeli commandos.
They could do, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. But see, the Turks aren't that particular. They'll rape the Israelis and the Palestinians. What's the difference?
Yeah, they probably just wanted to go there raping and pillaging.
Right.
The pirates, Turkish pirates, that makes more sense.
They have no real concept of humanitarian aid.
No,
the last group I would want to come in and give humanitarian would be the Turks.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know what that word means.
Their empire's a history of demolishing other people's buildings.
Well, it's not even that they want to control anything. They just want to rape you, and then they I guess they move on to the next thing, kind of like sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't really keep it. It's just sort of a raping.
Yeah, more a plague or something, like plague or locust or something.
Yeah.
Plague or rapists.
I don't know. I don't understand the news.
Yeah. It's all looking for the meaning behind the articles. It's just, on the surface, it's just junk.
Yeah.
It's it's complete crud on the surface, and it's why doesn't anybody actually do anything about this? It's just so blatantly fake. But it's all little codes and stuff in the news.
Well, when they do, they find out that the articles aren't true.
Yeah. Find out all the time, don't they?
People have tried to go and help other people who they thought were victims of something, and they find out that it's really just to pass legislation.
Yeah.
Who's Ryanair? Oh, I guess it's an airline. Ryanair will challenge EU's compensation rules by rejecting the biggest claims under the charter, the Cheats Charter. they're rejecting the ludicrous ash claims. It's almost related to the previous article.
Yeah. I'm just updating something.
By refusing to pay ludicrous claims from holidaymakers resulting from volcanic ash crisis. Well, Hawks Cafe does understand the news, and they were explaining that the volcanic ash thing is something that's been in place for a long time, and they give false information, and they get them to divert. That's what the Air France thing was.
Yeah.
They got them to divert, and then blew up the plane. Because they made another phony ash claim. It seems new to us about volcanic ash, but it's not new to pilots.
No,
They've been
I
playing
think
this
I've heard of it
ludicrous
before.
false game for a long time.
Yeah.
That's standard practice for them.
It's what you want when you want to declare a place a no-fly zone in peaceful times, sort of thing.
Right, it's like beep, 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 there's volcanic ash, and so they all have to, get out of the way.
Yeah. And I suppose they can fudge the satellite photos as well to prove it.
Yeah.
That's not that difficult. Just chuck some ash on the seditates, or whatever they call it. So they're slightly different now, but the same sort of principle.
Yeah,
automated smudge factor on it.
Yeah.
And a certain range,
Here's another article. Afghan Al-Qaeda head believed dead. Is this the guy that's been dead 10 times? His name is Mustafa Abu al-Yazid. The head of Al-Qaeda, no less. So he's working for the United States government. That's what Al-Qaeda is, the database of the Mujahideen. So this is a guy that works for the U.S., so I guess, will he get a proper U.S. funeral? See, that's another thing that pisses me off. When did they decide that bagpipes was our national funeral? All the state funerals in the United States have bagpipes, which is not our culture. I mean, isn't that Scotland?
That is, yeah.
So I guess Mustafa Abu al-Yazid will get a bagpipe funeral from the United States government because he's helped them so much. Because he's from Al-Qaeda. And in other news, they also caught Harry Potter and his gang.
Oh, yeah?
Because once you start capturing fictional people, I mean, it never ends. They got Bluebeard. They've caught Mickey Mouse. I don't know who else is on the United States hit list. Other fictional... Madame Bovary has been captured. I'm not sure. I mean...
Are they actually listed as that now?
Well...
Because I know, CIA people can use, those sort of handles, can't they? And if they get catched by their...
No, I mean from books.
Yeah.
They're capturing people from books because there's no reality to Al-Qaeda, so there's no reality to Tinkerbell. I mean, they can catch her too. Right?
Peter Pan ought to be caught.
Peter Pan.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm not sure what other fictional characters are on the hit list.
Yeah. Might as well put them on.
And then there was one Al-Qaeda guy they had captured and killed 10, 11 times. It was a good story to keep announcing it. They had killed this guy a variety of different ways, and he kept getting killed. And people started adding it up and realizing it was the same guy every time.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is little doubt, however, that Yazid's death, if confirmed, marks the passing of a senior Arab militant of long experience and unusually close ties to Bin Laden and the Taliban leader Mullah Omar, who apparently must be made of steel. And you know what's really fortunate about bombing in Afghanistan is that Afghanistan before bombing and after bombing looks the same. And they never found those things that Rumsfeld had drawings of, those where they would cut deep in the rock cliff and build whole infrastructures of buildings and computer worlds and they never found that.
Yeah,
because that doesn't exist.
Outside fantasy,
right?
Yeah. You find them in fantasy tabletop board game playing. What game? That's what you call it. Like war games, like tabletop board games. You find them in Warhammer 40,000 because he nicked the the Al Qaeda's top secret base off Moon Base Alpha or whatever it was in Warhammer 40,000, the Space Marines base on the moon. It's the exact copy. All he's done is change a few labels.
If you're fighting fictional enemies, we're the best at that. I mean, as far as stuff that we're pretending to do, wow, we really have a skill there.
They must have ripped
I'm
loads
proud
of
of our
stuff
forces in pretending to have an enemy and fighting them and beating them. They're really good at this.
Yeah.
And when they roll their
especially when they
Dungeons
get
and
killed.
Dragons dice, they're going to get some other enemies too.
Yeah, that's it. The three kobolds or something.
Yeah. It validates their drones that they're sending in, because they don't really have to be there to fight imaginary enemies.
Yeah. It makes it all worthwhile when you're working at a job to pay your taxes, to pay for them to do that.
And see, this is the same military that has remote viewers. So, it's all about pretending.
And it makes movies about it, yeah. The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Right. I mean, when you sit in a dark room in a sensory deprivation tank and pretend that you see things, this is great. This is our army. This is the army of the future. An army of one.
Yeah.
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 One big, phony, pretend army. This is great. I'm really proud of our forces, because I support our military. I'm not against our military, right?
Yeah, the future warfare isn't actual fighting, it's you just think you're fighting.
Right, and we get the 1st Earth Battalion in there to play music and carry lambs, and it's a wonderful army we have. I can't wait. Be all that you can be. I mean, maybe they could just stay home and do that.
Yeah.
That's great. I went out.
It just carries on, it doesn't stop.
Yeah, the article just went on and on, but I don't know. I can go to the fiction section of the bookstore and get other fictional things, you know. You know, like Schindler's List. Jeez. Who's Amanda Knox?
No idea.
American convicted of the murder of Meredith. This is why I shouldn't read The Guardian, because I don't understand the news, so I don't know who that is.
Amanda Knox.
Amanda Knox appeared in court today for the first time since being convicted of the murder of British student Meredith Kircher. The 22-year-old American had aged noticeably since last December, when she was led in tears from a court in the Italian city of Perugia after hearing the verdict. Knox, who received a 26-year sentence, faces new charges of slandering the police who questioned her. At her trial, she claimed to have been slapped around the head during an all-night interrogation session that ended in her signing a statement that she was at the crime scene. Kircher, age 21, from Cooston, Surrey, was found dead in the flat that she shared with Knox in November of 2007. Both of them were staying at Perugia's University for Foreigners.
University for Foreigners. In the sun. I've started actually looking for articles now.
I can actually do the news from the iPod. The iPod is so cool.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
Because they actually have a Guardian app.
I'll read the beginning. This is quite funny. Lesbians in China, less threatening than gay men. Beijing, China. The two women in flying robes of silk caress each other and sing sweet nothings. We'll sleep on the same pillow tonight. They serenade in unison.
They're less threatening than the gay men?
Apparently. That's how they sing as well. China. This is a scene from Lianxiang Ban. Lianxiang Ban, whatnot. A Romance, Two Bells in Love. A 17th century play by Saucy King Dynasty wordsmith Li Yu. The story, two women, Kui Jianyun and Cao Yuha, or something, and trying to buy each other's fragrance, fall in love and plot to marry the same man so they can continue their lesbian romance. You see, that's right then. That's all right then.
Well, see, they don't reproduce, and that's the key with these people.
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
the NWO loves them so much.
But if a bunch of lesbians want to marry me to cover up their lesbian romance, I'll be alright with that.
You wouldn't. You don't want that because they don't. See, the problem with lesbians is they don't like men.
No.
Yeah, they don't need you. They'll ignore you, and then you'll sit there and they've convinced a lot of American men that they want their wife to become a lesbian, and then what happens is they kick them out. The man gets kicked out. I'm confused how that helps somebody, or why that's so great.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's stupid. Oh well. I wasn't interested anyway, I was just wondering why I got the scent. Oh, this one's even more exciting. China to build UFO and alien embassy.
Well, see, that'll be another place for the Americans to land in their new ships.
Well, that's it, another way to invade China, really. Sort of like, totally garbage up any sort of plans of China becoming an actual and effective superpower if they got stupid bloody UFO bases and alien embassies, and it's just like American military just in disguise. And stupid chinks.
Or it's a way of acknowledging the pretend American flights.
Yeah,
they come in as grey aliens, or they come in as they're not coming from another planet. They're coming from Virginia.
But exactly, yeah, it's a covert way of taking over the country. You might as well just giving away your country if you want to do that. Plans by the Chinese government to build a UFO and alien embassy in the Kunlun Mountains near the Tibetan region have recently been leaked. The Chinese government has been increasingly absorbed with the question as to why over the last 10 years sightings of alien origin UFOs have become so frequent.
Because they're done probing the Mexicans, so they've got to go over to China.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the most ridiculous thing. You've got to be so dense to actually believe in aliens from outer space. Okay, there's 10 billion alien races out in outer space, and there's 10,000 trillion, and there's billions of stars, which all fag thinks is hilarious, because Carl Sagan said it, because he said billions, as in billions of gold. Okay, all these aliens, and not one of them could build. There's not a single alien city or alien town or alien building, alien car, alien, alien anything. They just fly out, zip along in their stupid little UFOs and disappear. It's so stupid. You think they'd have found some sort of unpopulated area of the world, and there's whole loads of them, and built a city there or built a town there, since they seem to be able to fly anywhere they want.
Well, the Rothschilds own all unpopulated areas, right?
Well, they wouldn't even care. That's only on paper. Or would they have to be worried about that?
Well,
they have to ask the Rothschilds permission. We're from Alpha Centauri. Do you have some called the Rothschilds here? Yeah, it's so ridiculous, isn't it, though, when you just think about it? It's just stupid, because they could have built that. They could have, floating cities and stuff like that if they're so far advanced, and just, appear.
Right.
But they don't, because they don't exist. And if they did, they're not interested.
But the Americans really enjoy flying around and making crop circles and stuff.
Yeah. Well, they get loads of that over here as well.
Right? They go to England and do it.
Crop circles, and yeah, I think so. Well, yeah.
I had the spirograph when I was a kid.
Certainly bigger as in you get more per square mile sort of thing, Covers more of the surface and it's more close together.
But it does ruin the crops.
Of the whole land to cover it. It what?
It does ruin the crops.
Yeah. I know, that's why I never got it. And all farmers were okay about it. I was like, okay, I don't believe you.
Well, the United States government comes in and pays them off. So they don't worry about the crop.
And then over here they get paid a bit by onlookers. Crap circle fanatics. You're really sad to be into that stuff. But never mind. The Chinese government has been increasingly absorbed with the question as to why over the last 10 years sightings of alien origin UFOs have become so frequent. I'm just repeating stuff. The conclusion that has been reached is that a new golden age for China is being ushered in that parallels the golden age that occurred over 3,000 years ago. I'm sure that's a natural conclusion, isn't it? You see stuff in front of your eyes, and obviously it means that space aliens are taking over the world. Arriving everywhere. No eyesight tests or anything needed. At that time, UFO and alien encounters were also extremely common. In that era, it is believed that the three wise kings collaborated with aliens. Well, that wise then. To create human beings in laboratories in the Kunlun Mountains. Okay, yeah. It has been confirmed by the Chinese government that ancient UFO bases still lie deep in this mountain range. As a response to this, Chinese government has decided to create an alien and UFO embassy in the historic Kunlun Mountains as a way of integrating into a new galactic reality.
Does this mean that the Chinese are now falling for New Age bullshit? Is that what that is?
It seems it, yeah. Seems they're heading that way, and it's like you might as well just like hand over your flags to the Americans if you're going to then build alien embassies and crap like that. You know, they fell for it before, the opium thing, East India Tea Company, and now they're falling for it again under the guise of stupid bloody aliens.
Yeah. Well, soon we'll be selling them makeup and other stuff too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You'll get good business out of Yeah, you'll get good business out of cosmetic surgery.
Right.
When it becomes popular to look American, then all the girls will want to have their eyes done to make them American. All the guys will want like beer bellies and what do they call it? Lumps of fat around the back of the neck.
Well, they're going to need to get TVs first.
Yeah, and loads of hair reduction treatments.
We'll have like a Chinese Bewitched, and it'll be really great.
Yeah, that's probably
and
they
then
probably
we'll
already
work
have
into
that.
that.
Yeah, they probably already have all that.
No, they claimed that by the year 2001 they wanted everyone to have a TV. They didn't quite get there.
No, but they probably got Chinese equivalent of the American shows anyway, or they're in
no, but I mean they don't have
route.
TV sets yet.
They don't.
The whole country doesn't quite have a TV.
No, not yet. They've been improving recently, like in the last 5-10 years, but I suppose it's still got fault.
And then they've got to come up with a Chinese Cosby.
Yeah.
To wear sweaters and ruin their culture. It'll be great.
Well, you just need a Chinese Oprah and a Chinese, like Larry King and a Chinese,
Right.
You know, all the big talk show hosts. Oh, Chinese Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Because they're all like targeted there to deliberately put in fissures into this society and break things up by putting like mortal enemies combined, you know, put together on TV on set. It's like, oh, okay, they're mortal enemies now. The image above is believed to depict the future embassy. It is rumoured that Chinese officials are even secretly liaising with researchers.
You have a link for that?
Yeah, I'll send you it. You know, Stephen Greer is in this gun again. Stephen Greer, ex-politics person.
Well, you know, he spends all of his time at the Rockefeller estate, so I, of course, believe everything he says now. I mean, a guy that tells us all about his friends, the Rockefellers, he's, of course, that makes him so much more credible to me. You know? In every speech, he manages to bring that up.
Does he? That's what makes the politics. I haven't bothered to listen to him. He's got the one of those boring voices.
Well,
Last time I heard it.
He manages to drop the word Rockefeller, and I have to hit stop on the tape, and I'm done. Yeah.
My Rockefeller buddies.
But I did look enough to find out that they had all kinds of alien abduction stories, and every one of them had that world government theme. Every single one.
Yeah, and I just look at Megan Fox's like abs. She got like really tight abs. Quite strange.
They always have somebody named Fox.
Yeah, Megan Fox is the lead character in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. I'm looking at the Sun homepage for some reason. I'm just looking for a laugh, I think. Yeah, Megan Fox is in like Meg and Mog. It's like basically an old witch, Meg. It's like a two-part witch, two-headed witch or something, like a two-headed giant. And Fox is in like Fox Spirit, Evil Spirit, whatever, Angel Spirit, Lucky Spirit, Fire Spirit, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but in the past we had Samantha Fox.
Yep, with her amazing gravity-defying boobs.
Right.
Yeah, she had boobs like torpedoes apparently.
And now we have a new Fox.
Yeah, I know. And to go with Fox News and everything else. You see it down at Rosie's Transformed. This is Megan Shrinks. She's got like ridiculously firm abs.
I don't see.
Well, it's on the there in the sun. In the sun.
Oh, wrong room.
Okay. Well, I was posting in Maggot Freeman, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I see. The sun.
Yeah.
Great paper.
Yeah.
If you're wrapping fish. Did they have page 3 girls in this?
Yeah, that's about the only reason for reading it is to see some bird tits hanging out.
That's something we don't
Because
have here.
Hey?
That's something
You
we
don't.
don't have here.
That's Murdoch's. So you got
Right.
to thank for that.
Yeah, but I mean, they make Fox News, but they don't have page 3 girls. But they have like supermodels reading the news on Fox, but it's like
Yeah.
a different tone.
Yeah. Oh, and they're speaking to the Raelian movement as well on the project, surprisingly. The embassy will have both UFO landing pads as well as a cultural centre for the sake of sharing knowledge and promoting universal harmony. I just, why? UFO landing pads? It's like they could have landed anywhere they wanted.
Yeah, why would they want to land there?
That's stupid. I know, it's just what I've been saying. They could just have they could just set up their own nation in the middle of nowhere. There's loads of areas on Earth that are unpopulated and that people never visit. You know, they could go there and then, send out a big flare or just, go to the nearest city, nearest sort of ambassador person, say, look, we've got a city over here, you can find it on the satellite maps. Come visit. We're representing 600 trillion alien life forms. So you might as well, it'd be the best idea to turn up.
Wow, this is really news here.
In the sun.
Did you see this?
The Kristen,
Yeah.
what's she doing?
It's all thighs. I don't know. I don't understand the sun, but no, I guess that's not news.
No, not really.
Gordon Smart's Bizarre USA. Well, it's still the same thing. I can't read this.
Nah. I think I read the only decent article that's ever printed in the Sun. Dad a stab lad! Jumped 10,000 feet.
The Guardian, what's the other one? The Telegraph. That's the same thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, Daily Mail. Yeah, I was going to bookmark all the crud papers in the UK. The Independent.
Well, our news is just so sad how fake it is. I mean, this is fake too, but it's a little closer to reality.
Yeah.
And there's thighs.
It's generally a bit more classy than the American rags.
Our newspaper, it's just so phony.
Mm.
I'll show you the Cincinnati Enquirer. It's just embarrassing.
And there's the BBC. Co-UK.
Where are you posting?
I haven't posted it yet. Oh, I'm posting in American Freeman chat room in there. I'm gonna have to make a new folder for it. Choose new folder. News. It's all like local news, isn't it?
Yeah. Al and Tipper separating.
Al and Tipper Gore.
Well, hi everybody.
We're just perusing the fake news. Did you understand they caught Tinkerbell and Bluebeard? Yeah.
Wow, isn't that fantastic? They caught Tinkerbell.
Mm-hmm.
Would they use like a really tiny little cage?
Well, they caught the head of Al Qaeda in Afghanistan. They've caught other fictional characters now too.
Well, didn't they capture one of the heads of Al Qaeda a few weeks back? And then, if you look through all the news reports, he's a guy that 2 years ago was supposed to have been captured, and then a year ago was supposed to have not have existed, and then a year later he was supposed to have existed but not be part of Al Qaeda, and then they claimed they captured him and everything else.
Well, yeah. The famous guy was caught 10, 11 times. But he didn't seem to escape, but they just keep catching him.
Just trying to pass it off as the same name over and over again? Yeah, isn't that lovely? Bravo to them.
But I'm saying they're moving on to other fictional characters. I mean, soon they're going to catch Superman and Mickey Mouse and, I don't know, Madame Bovary's been caught.
Right, so, you know.
They're always capturing Father Christmas or Santa Claus.
Yeah, Santa Claus.
He's always getting captured.
But not the Easter Bunny. He's very wily.
No, they haven't caught him yet.
But of course, they've captured Saddam Hussein, who's responsible for the 9/11, right?
Well, or one of his 15 dummies.
Right, double.
His stunt doubles.
Yeah. We're not too sure.
Yeah. They didn't release all the information.
No. National security. That allows them to lie very effectively.
Well, sure. Of course.
I mean, when you're going to make up the news, you have to have national security as an excuse. That's the best excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Are you not patriotic? Do you not support our troops?
You are obviously a violation of national security.
Yeah. But we were sort of going to have a party here. Al Gore's separating Tipper.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Over what?
I don't know. They mentioned that she's triumphing mental illness issues, but that's claiming that she's not radically mentally ill herself. She was the one that had those Senate hearings about how evil rock and roll was.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Much like the
80s.
The PMRC, Pregnant Mothers Rights Council. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why people hate her guts and want her dead and couldn't possibly. That's why he couldn't possibly be president, because that would make Tipper the first lady. It was bad enough when she was vice president. You know that she. I mean the first vice president lady or something. I'm not really awake yet.
Now don't get me wrong. There's an awful lot of music, quote unquote, out there that's put under the pop rock genre that is definitely Luciferian. I mean,
she was going after Prince.
Yeah. Like Prince is well, of course she went after Prince. Had to.
Frank Zappa wrote a song about her, didn't he? Porn Wars. Or the Frank Zappa meets Brothers.
Yes,
yeah.
That was Frank Zappa on the I don't know what album it was, but it's
Frank
a long
Zappa meets
track.
Brothers Prevention.
Yes.
It's about a 9-10 minute long track. Even Megadeth did a song about it.
Maggot.
Lost. Yeah, they did. Yeah. Last track on So Far So Good So What.
We did a Zappa show. I know you find out about the music late, because I do it after the fact. But yeah, I just did a Zappa show.
That would be the 31st. What? No.
I think so.
Maybe.
It's good. A lot of the Zappa material that I wanted to use, it was not usable because it's a lot of talking, but I really love it. I enjoyed listening to it. But when it came down to actual songs, that's what I put in there. So I got through a long period of material. But I enjoyed listening to it. And then I found songs. Electric Aunt Jemima in the Air, and Cruising with Ruben and the Jets. That was good episode.
So, Maggot, we're talking about Frank Zappa and Megadeth doing a song together about Tipper Gore.
No,
PMRC.
Separately.
PMRC, they're talking about Pregnant Mothers' Rights Council. And how stupid.
It's a Parents Music Resource Center.
Is it? Oh, that might have been what they nicknamed it then. I'm just doing it from memory.
Pregnant Mothers' Rights Council.
I like it better that way. I hate Tipper Gore, and I want to say fuck you, Tipper.
I think that's because they got most of their complaints from pregnant mothers, so that's what they ended up calling them, as the Pregnant Mothers' Rights Council.
I mean, even Todd Rundgren, who is all pro New World Order, he had a song about how much he hated Tipper Gore. So that shows you, even the pro New World Order hates her.
Wow. No wonder he couldn't be president. I think he wasn't president because they offered him the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, but then they also said that, Bush would guarantee that they would hit his competition first with the first plane on 9/11.
Oh, okay.
The Cantor Fitzgerald's CO2e. So they definitely, because Al Gore is financially profiting from the climate change hoax.
Sure.
With the Chicago Climate Exchange. So the first plane, the one thing that was guaranteed to be destroyed was the CO2e thing. We're not 100% sure that a plane hit, so...
Well, I don't think anyone can be 100% sure that a plane hit. I still am waiting to see the...
I'll set you up a September. There's an Italian site that has the full video. He dropped off. I wonder what happened to him.
Who's that? Oh, Karen?
No, Don.
Don.
He stopped talking and I thought, wow.
Yeah. Show's over.
I don't hear him. Oh, he must have crashed somehow. Well, if Tipper Gore and Al Gore separate, will they'll have multiple houses that use more electricity than everyone else? Or will they still use the same 10 times more electricity than other people?
Yeah.
But each one of their houses will use 5 times more than most people.
Oh, it's tragic
no
news.
Hypocrisy.
Tragic news for the Illuminati here. Hobbit movie in jeopardy as director Guillermo del Toro quits. They think they'll have nothing to do for several hours. Oh no!
Oh, no.
They love their stupid, crappy bollocks
Middle Earth
movies.
and all that. That's the most important thing to cover.
It is, and we need to have a movie
that.
of it. We have to have a movie of it. A movie, because we can't read anymore.
No.
We'll have a movie.
Movie.
It's funny, the movie's got moo in it. It sort of like attracts a bovine mentality as well. Just like, because you sit and graze, because you eat popcorn and stuff. So it's like movie.
That popcorn thing's very American.
Is it? Yeah, I was watching Have It News for You or something, and it had this like old posh English bird, and she was going like, "What you got in cinemas now? Popcorn? What is that?"
Hello.
Like,
She didn't know what popcorn was?
no, she didn't seem to understand the point of having it in cinemas.
If you're going to be American, you have to have popcorn.
Well, yeah, she was sounding English, and it was like on English TV, but I just don't get it, because we've had popcorn for like 10, 20 years.
Longer than
So I
that.
don't know. Well, over here, yeah. I mean, as long as I've known it, really. 30 years. I think she's been snobbish.
Total computer meltdown there, or what happened?
I have no idea. All of a sudden, everything just completely died on me. I'm rebooting and resetting up here, so
Oh, okay.
patience.
I pay the grand $2, and so I get Skype out.
Okay, I'll read the article, it's quite funny. I'll just read the caption first. Guillermo del Toro, who directed Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy. Oh, Pan's Labyrinth's really good.
Yeah, but it's not in English.
Pan's Labyrinth? It's not in English?
I never found an English version of Pan's Labyrinth.
I've got an English version of it.
It is?
Mm.
Pan's Labyrinth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
It's all subtitled.
Oh, yeah, whatever. I've seen so many subtitles for films, it doesn't even bother me anymore. And Hellboy. So debt-ridden MGM's inability to provide financing for the film left with him no other option but to leave the project.
I know there's a Benicio del Toro, but who are you referring to?
Guillermo del Toro. Few words. If you thought reading a J.R.R. Tolkien novel was time-consuming, try turning one into a film. 2 years and hundreds of painstakingly designed monster costumes after he started work on The Hobbit, the Mexican director Guillermo del Toro has suddenly quit, complaining about endless delays in getting his eagerly awaited film greenlit. We're waiting for the symbolic time. It's going to be released on the symbolic date, with the symbolic bollocks hanging off it. In a move that sent a shockwave through the ranks of Middle-earthers, jokes, and was greeted with dismay by his own fans, Del Toro said he reluctantly decided to step down after growing tired of the continued uncertainty about when The Hobbit will begin shooting. So it hasn't even started shooting it. They only started shooting it. And the future of the studio that will release it. Since 2008, Del Toro has enjoyed a nomadic lifestyle compared to that of Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah, but we have fictional news, so it's no problem to... Like, that's why they announce surveys in advance. You know, like the results. They announce
the results.
Of studies and all that stuff before they actually do the study.
That's ridiculous. This is so bollocksy though. It's comparable to Bilbo Baggins commuting every week from his home in Los Angeles to New Zealand. Oh yeah, just like Bilbo Baggins. Commuted every week, didn't he? Yeah, travelled 3,000 miles away.
From a tree.
Yeah, on a tree.
Didn't he live in a tree?
He lived in a hole in the ground. Yeah, that's where he should have stayed. Where Peter Jackson is making a 2-part film version of The Hobbit after producing the Lord of the Rings trilogy there. But although Del Toro's finished work co-writing the script and has helped design many of the sets and costumes, the film is unable to get itself off the ground until its studio MGM can resolve financial issues that left it $3.7 billion in debt. I don't know how on earth they managed to get that sorted, since all they do is make massive earners, you know, like Lord of the Rings. People just can't get enough of that crap. That's 2.5 billion in debt. 2.55. The Trouble Studio has been up for sale for months, though it's currently struggling to attract a sufficiently deep-pocketed buyer. In light of ongoing delays in the setting of a start date for filming The Hobbit, I am faced with the hardest decision of my life. Do I keep the beard or do I lose it? Del Toro sold a Tolkien fan website. Yeah, the one ring up net. After nearly 2 years of living, breathing and designing a world as rich as Tolkien's Middle-earth, I must with great regret take leave from helming these wonderful pictures. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. It just talks so much bollocks. It's like, it says it's wonderful and it's like deep regret, and so what happened all of a sudden, you know? You suddenly realise you couldn't make films? I don't get it. You had the idea in your head, this wonderful vision.
Maybe he realised that they kill everybody who has double insurance.
There's
like reinsurance and all that?
Yeah, and then you just like woke up 2 times and realised I'm making a load of shit.
I'm a target for the NWO to kill me.
Yeah. Oh no, they'll love him because he can use that to promote the Agenda 21 and everything else.
Right.
That's what I mean. That's why I'm reading it out in the first place, because it's like the Illuminati and NWO and all the other assholes really love this sort of stuff. They live off it. They really need their like Hellboy 3 and X-Men Part 4 and everything else. Need it. It's the supposedly younger ones that get, like, you know, all the mental problems and they're addicted to pills and stuff. They have to have these films like regularly pumped into their veins, into their eyeballs. So they get the twitches too bad that they can even play computer games anymore. His resignation increases the likelihood of the 2 films failing to be ready in time for their supposed release dates of December 2012,
I mean,
December
they're going to make a... Oh, so that was the only thing left was the Hobbit movie. They'd done the other ones, right?
Yeah, and they were going to bring that in, release that in two parts, because it was like only about 300 odd pages to begin with, so they somehow managed to spread it over 6 hours like it normally does. Leaving in a hole in the film's industry finances for those years, the last installment of The Lord of the Rings, released in 2003, made $1.1 billion. And yet they're still running at a loss of £2.55 billion, or whatever it was.
Well, they have to send all the money to Israel, so...
Yeah, that's it, yeah. It's very hungry. When both inflation and increased cost of tickets for 3D film screenings are factored into calculations, the Hobbit can expect to generate even more. Last week, Del Toro...
You're supposed to feel bad for MGM or something.
Yeah, they're just scraping through.
Oh, my. Why don't they just make more money out of nothing?
Known as a director...
Maybe they're too big to fail. We could bail them out.
Yeah. And the Hellboy franchise hinted at his frustration at delays with the project. He told News Conference that The Hobbit remained in limbo until the financial crisis at the MGM studio, which shares financing rights to the two titles with New Line Cinema, was completely solved.
Wow, everyone's having a financial crisis, except we never covered the Americans who were having that, living in tent cities.
All this massive amount of fuss for something that's going to be over in a couple of hours.
I mean, these Jews, they don't have enough swimming pools and stuff.
But you can imagine, like, people nearer to Hollywood and stuff like that are just going to be up in arms about this, absolutely, like, devastated. Like, no! Throwing their teddies
at with the number of movies that Hollywood barely has the ability to produce, like, this one's going to be anything that major against it.
I'm trying to think of animation.
They should make more, like, Rising Sun, Dawn of a New Day kind of movies. You know what I mean?
Well, anything that they can't release in the theater, they're just going to automatically release to video and hype it that way anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, imagine that you put in an Antichrist and the Dawn of a New Day. That's a perfect film script right there. And then they get initiated.
Yeah.
It's great. They become gods. Perfect
Dawn
film
of a New Gay.
What would you call it? 2012, the sequel?
Yeah.
2012 and a half.
It's when you're worshipping a golden calf.
Oh, like they haven't been doing that for years anyway.
Right.
It's not green like Del Toro said. That's categorical. We have been caught in a very tangled negotiation. There cannot be any start dates until the MGM situation gets resolved. They do hold a considerable portion of the rights. He revealed that all of the fantasy film's creatures and much of its scenery had been created. Oh, great! Well, you did it on computer, so what? Well, I mean, they do actually make whole villages and towns and stuff with this crap.
Hey, miniatures are really easy to build. I've got toothpicks.
Oh yeah, just like 100,000 like miniature painters around. We designed the sets and the wardrobe. We've done animatics and planned battle sequences. We are very, very prepared for it for when it is finally triggered. Jackson said he was sad to lose a collaborator united in 2007, adding, "The bottom line is that Guillermo just did not feel he could commit 6 years to live in New Zealand, exclusively making these films when his original commitment was for 3 years." Jackson, who has been trying to get The Hobbit off the ground since 1995, though work began in earnest only in late 2007, is searching for a replacement. Leading contenders including Spider-Man director Sam Raimi and Neil Blomkamp, who made last year's Oscar-nominated sci-fi hit District 9. January article.
Crunch, 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 crunch.
I'm eating hobbits.
Hobbits is good eating, they are.
And so say Smog.
Not quite as tough as them dwarves.
Yeah, the hairy feet are a bit annoying with any syndrome.
A lot of stuff.
They taste like pork. Taste like pork scratchings.
Nice.
"You swine!" said the last hobbit. Exactly, that's what you like. You like.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well, I just thought it was interesting. Anything that delays their amazing plans. You see, they had it planned for December 2012, and 60,000 billion people all around the world are going to be glued to this crappy screens and 3D version of The Hobbit. The Hobbit. And then at the same time, this massive meteorite is going to come and hit them on the head.
And Shrek can come in and eat the hobbits.
Yeah, that might be quite interesting.
I would go to see that movie.
I would too. But I wouldn't go. I would download it. I wouldn't pay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There'd be no chance at all of my paying for the movie.
I would sneak into the theater. How about that?
I don't like that.
You don't like sneaking into a theater?
No.
Why?
When it came down to having to steal, I told them I didn't want a receipt. Like I paid for the item and came out. I didn't have a bag or a receipt, so my friends assumed that I had stolen the item like I was supposed to. So I failed to steal the item. It was the Madeira 5 and Dime. We were supposed to steal an item, and I just didn't want to do it. We knew them, and I liked them, and I didn't want to steal from them. I don't really steal anyway. Or at all. I hate when we add the word "really" in there, as if there was a time when I did. What it is it's about being liberal, and you're supposed to throw extra words in or something. Our language is gone, isn't it?
Completely and totally. Destroyed a long time ago.
I don't want to speak English anymore.
Well, technically you're not even speaking English as far as it's concerned anyway.
Oh, no. We're America. We're the only English there is. Aluminium is not how you say aluminum. Pentagon. You know what I mean? Forget it.
Pentagon. Nice.
That some little tiny country, that we've been helping out all these years, has to tell us how to pronounce stuff. Forget it.
Yeah.
Yes, but they sound so sophisticated and real when they do it.
I know.
Once you add that accent to it, everything becomes validated.
It certainly works during infomercials, I'll tell you that.
This is the most amazing device I've ever owned in my entire life.
It sells, especially in the Deep South and all that.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Almost better than Billy Mays.
Yeah. Another thing I don't watch. Infomercials.
Well, you don't watch anything, do you? Unless you've downloaded it.
Right, so I never download infomercials, for example.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. Can you download infomercials?
I don't know. I feel that people don't want to encode that into DIVX. It takes too long anyway to do it, so that tape that and encode it.
What do you mean? Who's going to spend their time downloading an infomercial to watch?
I can just see it now on Consent. They'll have all infomercials.
One of their search tabs.
Yeah.
Infomercials. Funny. I wonder if you could find it on Demonoid.
It'll be better on Consent. It's very central.
Well, if you just want infomercials, can't you just get them on YouTube? Isn't that the most likely place to find them?
They have them on YouTube?
I suppose so.
I'm still not going to buy it. It doesn't really matter.
Right. That's true.
Oh, the Turkish Navy is apparently protecting that new photo that they're sending out to get massacred by the superior Israeli soldiers.
Yeah, wasn't that a nice debacle?
But they're going to have to explain to Turks what humanitarian aid it really is. It doesn't mean you just go there and rape everybody and break all the buildings down.
Well, yeah, I think the Turks are just purely there because they think there's pillaging to be had there.
Yeah. They're going to rape the Palestinians, and they're going to rape the Israelis, and then they're going to rape, I guess, the Syrians. I mean, back to business for the Turks.
Yeah, go all the way. That's it.
Great.
I live in Michigan. We all hunt here, apparently. So, you got to be able to do turkey.
Is there a lot of hunting there?
Michigan? Oh yeah, big time. Big time. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to hunt my favorite thing, which are tourists. Even though they refer to it as tourist season, I'm still not allowed to hunt them.
Oh. You can get a license for that?
I'm not sure I need a license for it.
That's a Freeman on the land joke.
I know, that's why I didn't fall for it.
Yeah.
I felt you were trying to trap me. Which brings up something I did want to discuss, something that I was thinking about earlier today, and running through my head, I shared some of Robert of the Family Menards videos with a friend of mine from Grand Rapids today who was down visiting over the holiday weekend here in the States. And just reviewing and going back over some of the stuff, it hits home further and further and further and further and further that whole element of permission that's involved with it. Like, we constantly have to ask permission, like you mentioned, if I had a license to hunt tourists. Why should I have to have a permission from somebody to hunt tourists? They're in season, right?
As long as you roast them over an open fire.
Well, and I have no problems with that. I've got a fire pit in my backyard.
Okay.
I set up
as long as you're prepared.
Roast them and everything else. Feed them to anyone who's interested.
They're tasty.
I don't know how much your tourist element is there in Cincinnati since they shut down the ability to have live music there.
Well, they have there's no live music anywhere now, but they have a special downtown now in Cincinnati, but they pushed everybody north to like practically Columbus to live, and all the interesting part of Cincinnati is like all hollowed out and empty. I mean, it's very interesting. I used to like it down near the College District and all that. All the buildings are interesting. It's great, but no one lives there now. And then they've got this divide, and then there's right near the river. They've got, just for conventions, a fake Cincinnati, where it's possible to come here for a convention and no one will know it, and it's like you go to convention land, and they have shops that are only open during certain hours, and it's bizarre.
Only when there's a convention in town.
It's been years since I've been to the downtown of Cincinnati because no one goes there. And then people tell me they've come to a convention in Cincinnati, and I said, well, why didn't you call us? But it's not really Cincinnati. It's convention land.
The city within the city within the city.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. That's happened in most cities where they've pushed everybody out to, like, where there's Panini Bread and there's Walmart.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there's no personality, and every couple miles it's another sprawl town that looks the same.
Lenny, I live in Michigan. You take a look what happened in Detroit. Everyone lives outside the edges of Detroit, and all they are is massive amounts of subdivisions and strip malls.
Do they have a Panini Bread?
They've got Panera Breads like everywhere, and Walmart's everywhere. And you can't. You can turn around and toss a rock in the air and hit like 5 Starbucks. I mean, and that's every place outside of the city of Detroit is a suburb subdivision that's made up of people who wish that they could just be left alone and no one were to ever bother them. And it's starting to get that way on the west side of the state in Grand Rapids. And these two subdivision entities, these subservient division devices. So subservient.
Try not to read too much into the words.
No.
So as long as they can find a supercuts or a place to get their nails done.
Right. As long as they can, drive 3 miles down the road to their closest supermarket and buy all of their prepackaged food and go home, leave them alone. They don't care.
They won't be left alone. It's carbon credit time.
Yeah. Well,
carbon credit time.
Tried to talk to some people about that this weekend, and you know what their response was? Well, as long as it helps the environment get better.
Really? It helps the environment to pay the globalist taxes?
That's what I tried to express to them, and they just argued with me and argued with me and argued with me about how important it was to make sure that our money is being paid to somebody who is using it to help the environment. And to try to express to them and explain to them that their money wasn't being used for anything.
It is being used. It's being used to enslave us.
Well, okay, that it wasn't being used for any of the purposes that they were being led to believe that it was being used for.
It's important for us to pay for our own slavery.
Of course. How is it slavery if we don't have the opportunity to pay for it?
Well, you got to get something for your money.
Right.
Chains and things.
Change?
Chains.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said change.
No, it's not much of a change since 1913. It's all slavery. I wake up like after the show. I'm in like vegetable mode now, if you can tell.
Well, you didn't go to bed until like 6, 7 o'clock this morning.
It was 7. I gotta stop going to bed later and later and later.
Right.
Oh, you put the Sunday show up on. That's right.
Did you see it? It's up there.
Yeah, I've been trying to download this stuff.
It's really good. I spent some time listening to it last evening before I went to bed. There's some really, really good stuff on there.
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy about that.
It's me. I'm more awake on that show, and I'm bitching and complaining, which is a forte of mine. It's great.
I might have done the music a bit quiet. Do you think? I don't know.
Well, you'll get better at it.
It was a little quiet, but it was still there. You could hear it. It just takes some mixing opportunity and everything. But no, the show was really, really fantastic. I enjoyed it. There were some things that were brought up that I thought were really, really good. One of the things that I really enjoyed about it the most, Lenny, is listening to you in that type of a forum, and I'm not sure that our listeners on this show had the opportunity to experience you that way. You have such a long-term opportunity to be able to express a full idea. And I think you tend to hamper yourself just a little bit back on this show because there's more of us, and obviously we're on air, but you have that comprehension of paragraph form of expression.
That's why I'm awake later. We should do like a middle of the night show. I'm better.
You know, and I've thought about that, and I wondered, because, if most people are downloading our archives anyway, and we're not really obligated into any particular time period when we have to record, and I've noticed that you and Maggot and even the CC are up for hours later in the evening, too.
Yeah.
So maybe we want to move our live broadcast time, the recording time, till later in the evening when you're a little more awake. I don't
know if people can stand the kind of screaming I do later on in the day. Yeah, I'm a little more subdued here now. Just woken up.
That's all right. I think our listeners would like to hear you more animated.
They don't know how bad that can get.
I found it really, really amusing though to listen to you say things like, okay, but hold on. I'm getting to a point here. Because I find myself using that same phraseology when I'm talking to people outside of this place. Because unfortunately I think most people don't want to listen longer than the 2 seconds that it takes them to think of something to respond to you with.
I don't know.
I don't know anything either, but... So no, I really enjoyed listening to that yesterday. I look forward to listening to part 2 later on today.
I chopped it in half by you.
Yeah, I know, I noticed. I was thinking you must be insane to listen to all at once.
It was really big.
It's 5 hours or so.
It's almost 6 hours total.
No, 5 hours 15 the last time I looked.
Was it? Okay. Well, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
There was a whole long segment that I thought was a testament to how Buck never listens to anything I say.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
It was good nonetheless.
I can remux it or whatever. I could do that over the weekend, but I just like whatever. It's good
Alright,
enough.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
We have lots of bizarre conversations archived you can put in.
Yeah, I see it, yeah.
I hope CC hasn't died of dengue fever. He was telling me about that's what they get down there.
Dengue fever? No, I think he's just on the phone with somebody.
No, he said they think he's got that.
Really?
I talked to him last night, and I was sort of in a vegetative state then too. So maybe the vegetative state's growing.
Vegetables growing.
It's not spreading through the World Freeman Society. Just various elements of it. Listening to our show, you'll be fine. If you're a host, well, look out.
I don't know. I just went out.
Well, of course you do. You always want out. We all want out. You know, I was having a... it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. I wind up talking with people, and I try to express to them and share with them how this fraud's been perpetrated on them, how they've been subject to mass levels of deception. And I try to do it in a very slow and building systematic order. And once you hit the point where you get them to grasping that everything that they have been taught has been taught to them to control them into a position, they shut down. They start yelling at you and getting angry with you, or me rather, and upset with me because I'm trying to get something for nothing, quote unquote, or destroy the system that's there in place to help us, quote unquote, etc., etc., etc. And it becomes very, very frustrating to constantly encounter such a small mindset.
Well, you don't have a lot of proof with you.
Well, and that's true. I've got enough, but I don't always have my computer with me.
Yeah, but I mean, I play the A game on this one. I'll pull out the books, I'll pull out the stuff. I've got the iPod with the right videos on it. I can nail them to the wall. They don't win when they talk to me. So I'm saying, if you get really desperate situation, put them on the phone.
Have them call you.
I'll blow them right back to the wall.
Thanks. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah. I
mean, it starts with everything you know is wrong, and it ends with, I can actually hit you with a talent. It's wide and thin and thick. I mean.
Sure. It's just disheartening at some level to watch and notice how many people are far more comfortable believing the delusion. Like, I had an argument with the wife today, a mini argument with the wife today, in which I had to express to her that the work that I'm trying to do with this radio broadcast is the salvation of humanity, which supersedes my being nice to you at every single moment of every single day. And her response to that was, no, that's not right. And all I could think is, well, that's incredibly selfish and incredibly childish, and that's exactly what they want you to believe, and that's exactly how they're working at defeating us. If everyone is so concerned with how we're treating each other on a fundamental level and supporting each other's selfish needs, then none of us are doing things for other people. We're just...
Well, wait, what do you mean, like, placating that that's not true?
Well, for example, when I'm put into a position where either you make me happy as your absolute ultimate goal of existence, or
we tell the truth?
Or you're telling the truth.
Like, we have to deny the truth to make you happy? Is that what it is?
Well, right, exactly. Have to deny the truth to make you happy, because that's what would make them happy.
That doesn't make me happy. I'd rather know the truth even if it's unpleasant.
Well, sure. But, I was watching over this weekend, Len and Honor has done a new series. It's a 4 short film to find on YouTube that are all about moral relativism and quote-unquote positive hip-hop. And he gets an awful lot into talking about how, the positive elements of hip-hop, to talk about, the being aware and the being positive and the not falling into the negative and the not talking about shooting and killing people and always thinking positive and everything else is nothing more than another farce to bring people into a segment where they don't think about or deal with or have to accept that things exist that are going to hurt them, bother them, oppress them, infect them, inflict them, etc., etc., etc. And
were you starting to rhyme there?
Mm-hmm. He's trying some hip hop.
Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
Was I? That's awesome. I hope you're recording this. We'll sample it in later when I write down my rhymes, yo. But he talked an awful lot about the whole moral relativism that comes into it, and the sense that we have so structured a society in which not only is the infantile mindset perpetuated by such things as like MTV's Cribs and all of these cartoons that are made for adults and stuff like that, but then we're constantly reinforcing that in adults by giving them every opportunity to quote-unquote do what they want. And what you want to do is supposed to make you happy. We've taken away the existence of any negativity.
I still think she should come on the show.
Who?
His wife.
My wife.
Oh, yeah.
Really? I mean, come on.
Good luck with that. She told me today that she thinks that this show is going to be the death of our relationship.
That's what I'm saying. She should come on and convince her about 9/11.
I would be more than happy to have her come on. We'd have to record at a different time than this because she works a full-time job Monday through Friday from 8 in the morning till 5 in the evening. So if we wanted to record a session or something at another time, I've got no problems with it. Although the instant you hit any point that you actually show any kind of probable element of attack against her positions, she'll shut down and run away.
Well, that's an excellent debate position.
Just Sunday show it. Just check out on Sunday show. Just get Lenny to call her. She gets chucked on the Sunday show without knowing it.
Yeah, we'll do a Sunday show.
Yeah.
There you go. We'll do it.
We record the Sunday show anytime.
Didn't put it on at some other point.
Yeah. The actual name's Sunday show's a misnomer. But the whole idea, the reason why I call it Sunday show is because it's like something you'd listen to on a Sunday. You're really bored.
I really enjoyed it. I loved listening to it last night. It was so much fun.
Slightly different format to the show, yeah.
Sure. Although I do have to tell you, I was listening to part 1, and the two people that were on before you came on, Maggot, and I will refrain from referring to them, but anyone who listens to it would know exactly what I'm talking about. Boy, did they sound just so completely off base.
Oh, the two people at the beginning? The one person right at the beginning? Yeah, and I got the person screaming in the background.
It was harsh and vicious. It was just awful. It hurt me.
Yeah.
It hurt me to have to listen to these people.
Yeah. I would say it's sort of like unleashed sort of thing, isn't it?
Completely. It was great to hear Lenny just lay into them unrepentantly. Because, wow, they really need...
Unrelentingly?
No, unrepentantly.
I'm not doing anything wrong to repent for.
Exactly my point. You laid into them without having to repent for anything, and they needed it. The connotative element to that was that it was vicious enough. Unrelentingly means you could have just been poking them. You were more than just poking them, you were putting them in their place. And they needed it.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who spent time at Cambridge and didn't notice what was going on, and then tried
Freeman.
to end everyone that they're great guys, they're good guys, they're great guys, good guys.
I know, it's really hard to have missed that, but they did somehow.
Well, and the thing was, I felt that I was actually listening to a show and participating, and I kept wanting to make comment and say stuff. And I'm like, oh wait, I'm listening to a recording. But it was exceptionally funny.
Uh-huh.
So I'm really glad that was recorded and that's out there for our people, for anyone who's downloading our archives to listen to, because I think it was very, very important.
I feel like we're selling something, except it's all free and it doesn't matter. It's just because it's so ridiculous.
Sure. That's the best part to it. Anyone can find it whenever they want to.
Well, it's up there, it's on Content and all the others as well.
Sure. So people can find it wherever they want to.
Yeah.
Content, Demonoid, Pirate Bay. You can even go to tinyurl.com, WFS Podcast, and look for it under Sunday show.
I prepared 3 shows in one day yesterday.
I know. I'm still waiting for this past Friday show, though.
I'm working on it.
I figured.
I'm getting really fast at it.
Posted Monday's show. I wanted to ask you how that went yesterday and what you guys talked about.
I don't know.
I wasn't on
Same stuff.
NWO, Israel.
News. It was mainly Israel, I think.
Well, with what they pulled yesterday, why wouldn't you talk about it for the whole frickin' show? And that was ridiculous. Wish I could just board some in the middle of the water outside of my house and confiscate everything on it and throw people into prison and stuff.
You do?
No, not really. Not really. But at least then I could claim that I was doing it under the guise of national security, right?
Or being chosen by God.
Right, sure.
That's always another good way to do it.
Excuse me, all of your pontoon boats are now mine. God chose me as being the owner of all of them, so please get off the boats.
Yeah.
It would help if I had secret nuclear weapons set and ready to strike, and a bunch of people wearing blue and white. Crosses on them. Ah, well. The big, huge problem of being a responsible citizen.
Responsibility sucks.
Sometimes. It certainly does. So I spent most of my weekend trying to relax and talk to people about what's going on, and I spent some time today thinking about the whole being pulled over and asked for your license, registration, and insurance, because I shared with somebody earlier today before we drove back to Grand Rapids the submission, application, registration elements of Menard's videos. And it struck me again real heavily, the bending to another's will to beg for the permission to hand over your property to their safekeeping. It struck me so heavily once again at that point that why would you do that? And then I'm driving around in town because I've got to go paint the garage door this morning, and I'm looking at all these cars driving around me, and all these real nice SUVs and these nice Mercedes and BMWs and even the crappy cars that are like 1987 Toyota Tercels and stuff like that. And all of them have these beautiful little license plates on them that have these little tiny sticker that's current with registration. And I'm thinking the license plate that's on my vehicle isn't even registered to the vehicle I'm driving. The title on the vehicle isn't even listed as being titled to myself. And the tag on the registration expired last year. and then a peace officer drives past me going the other direction. And all I can think is, if I'm doing something wrong, he can turn around and pull me over. If I'm doing something unlawful. Which, of course, they don't. So what does that have anything to do with any of the documentation on my vehicle whatsoever? Other than I'm begging somebody to punish me if I haven't given them my property as theirs. And I started thinking about that, hit a point where I began wondering, why is it so hard for people to realize that they have constantly been deluded into thinking that they have to always be children? And then I start talking to people and realize
It's safer.
they want to be children.
They're sold that concept of limited liability.
Well, but they want to be children. And I mean, this touches back into the conversation with my wife, in which what she wants is to get what she wants, which is selfish, which is exactly how a child feels. Which got me thinking about all of the things that are impressed upon us by culture, common culture, pop culture, etc., in this country, and so much of it is set up such that you should have and be allowed to have exactly what you want. Which is selfishness, which is childish behavior, which is antithetical to Freeman existence. No wonder you're going to be a child your whole life. You want everything that you want, and the only way you can get it is if you give permission to other people to run everything else in your entire existence. It was really disheartening. I was really upset by it.
Yeah, most people stay children their whole lives. I've noticed it. And it's really embarrassing as well when they're in their mid-40s and look like they're in their 50s and they're just complete cunts.
Well, sure.
Because they can't cope. They're living this stupid little retarded life. And they ought to just be terminated for the extreme aggression. Trampled all over upon. They're only there to be replaced anyway. Who needs them after time? Just have this roboticized army or whatever.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it's hit a point where you're only here just so long to fulfill a certain role, and then once your role is completed, somebody else is supposed to come in and fulfill that role, and then you're just shuffled to the side and given a pittance of anything to just allow you to subsist until you're no longer drained, quote unquote, on society.
Well, yeah, and the people who haven't caught up, and the people who are left over are just an embarrassment.
Yeah.
You see, I mean, they're embarrassment to everybody. They're just embarrassment to know. Get out of my face, sort of thing. People can't keep up with society, just live in the past. It's terrible.
Sure. It's disheartening to realize how many people are comfortable with that. I think I mentioned something to Lenny a few weeks ago, that some people are more comfortable, or rather, some people are okay with the prison of comfort. As long as I have my couch and my cable TV and my microwave oven and everything else, I'm okay.
The microwave too.
Oh yeah, gotta have the microwave oven.
Yeah.
Should I have to cook? Everything should be pre-made. All in the microwave.
I'm so bored.
I'm just tired.
All it should be. And it got me thinking about the whole concept of choice. People have this idea that, as long as I have a bunch of options, I have the freedom of choice. But no one ever thinks about that, well, maybe choice is the opportunity to choose not to follow any of the options that have been given to you. That's freedom.
But there's somehow they've managed to produce people over here that are stuck in old paradigms. It's like 1950s reality they live in. And they try and make me feel guilty about things I've said and done. It's just like, don't even bother. I can't even relate to these people. I don't even want to talk to them. I don't even want to acknowledge their existence. Because they're not only scumbags, they're scumbags living in an ancient past. You know, it was dead and buried, and it's like just being brainwashed by your grandparents or something, just carrying on with this brainwashing thing. You know, it's just sort of like, oh, you can't say that, you can't do that, sort of thing, and they can't even say it directly because they think, to be honest, they think I'm Darth Vader, I'm strangling them by remote. Because they're insane as well. I guess I just staying looking at them saying, I will kill you, you will die at them. But, yeah, that's what I'm felt.
Why can't we have magic powers?
Yeah, I know. In their minds, though, they do. I have them in their imagination.
We all need red strings on our wrists.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And pyramids of tattoos on the back of our necks.
And then we can drink the blood of children. Oh wait, I'm not going to become Jewish. Where's my rabbi?
I think that's part of it, though, because a lot of people just can't cope with reality, and maybe they know they could, and they're just retreating into fantasy worlds, you know, of like magic and magical powers.
Well, the worst part is that there's so many of them that think that they're coping with reality when they're just putting up with deception.
Yeah.
And they think that you're not coping with reality because you're not following along with it. And they don't pay attention to if somebody is perpetrating a criminal act upon you and you agree to it, that doesn't make their criminal act right.
Yeah. That's it.
It means you're willing to pay for the protection. I'm not willing to pay for the protection. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means I'm not like you. I mean, that's one of the hardest things, is getting people to understand that you can still be a free citizen, human being, sovereign, without changing your location.
How do we get to
Still
this
not
topic?
be subject to
I'm driving him.
the society, quote, that's been imposed upon you since birth.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. People just...
It's sickening when people are just demented, though. They split themselves off from the world, and they haven't even realised it, and it's like they're walking around like they're fucking medievalists or something, but they haven't adapted to reality at all, and they think they've got magical powers, and, you know, talking stupid tongues and stuff, and it's like, well, have you actually looked around you? It's not doing you any good.
It's like the power of positive thinking. As long as I think good thoughts, only good things will happen to me.
Yeah.
Magic.
Oh no! These people are even worse. They're like waving their hands
That's
at you.
that shitbag New Age thing called The Secret.
Yeah.
I just want to punch anyone in the face who tries to tell me about that. Bullshit. More New Age again, huh?
Of course. Well, but that's what so many people are attracted to, and I mean, the Celestine Prophecy, The Secret, it's all over the place. People they want to, I deserve only happiness in my life. And there's the guy that...
when I finish punching you in the face, you'll be happy I stopped doing it. Great.
Right? Well, there's the guy in Texas who... Houston Supersonics changed their location, and so his church bought up the major dome palace thing that the Supersonics used to play in, and he converted it into his mega church, and I can't remember the guy's name right now, but he preaches a Christianity, a religion of personal prosperity. God wants you to be rich. How much morally relative can you get than that? I mean, it's not even limited to just what's considered New Ageism. It's pushed its way into everything in America almost at this point. You deserve to be happy and rich and have everything you want, and etc., 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 because you deserve it, because God wants it for you. And as long as you focus on it and believe it and follow it, it will happen for you. I don't know about you. It hasn't worked for me.
Yeah, it's perpetual childhood at the end of the day.
Right. It really
There'll never
is.
be anything else. There will never be anything else. So they can walk around as much as they like, thinking they're Harry Potter or they're High Priest of Wicca, as a lot of people seem to think they automatically are over here. It's like Wicca's
I
like,
gotta buy more bullets.
yeah, that's the thing over here. It's like people think they all practice Wicca and stuff, and they think they're witches with magical powers. That's what I mean. And I'm not talking about the, Harry Potter ones. They're just as bad. But yeah, they got all like, yeah, there's a stupid little thing in front of you, and it'll destroy you. It never works, and they keep trying it, and it's like their lives are falling to pieces, and they look like they're falling to pieces physically, and they can barely walk, and they're staggering around in clubs and pubs and stuff. And last time I went out, everybody left about early, so they're all just like falling all over the place. I just can't cope with it. It's ridiculous. It's like watching a Bosch painting or something. Well, without the people being taught, like that, the big spikes and stuff, but they was all like, it's quite funny, really. It doesn't really affect me. But that's because I don't think I have magical powers. I don't have them.
You should tell us more about the club life.
Oh, no, there's no point, because they all listen to us anyway.
When I was...
I watched that the 24-hour party people last night.
Oh, yeah. It's any good?
It's pretty interesting. I thought it was really kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if I was supposed to be laughing or not. I was laughing. You were laughing at failure, and I thought that was really funny.
When I was in college, my sophomore and junior year of college, New Year's Eve, I guess this would have been 98 to 99, because it was the year before the Y2K scare.
Not from Deutsche Bank. Great.
Yeah. I went and hung out with a bunch of friends that I knew and everything else, and did a bunch of mushrooms, which were brilliantly beautiful. And hung out at this party for a while, and I had a safe driver who was driving me around everywhere, so I didn't have to worry about anything. And after midnight came and went, I decided, I'm going to head back into town, because we were about 20 miles outside of town. I wanted to be a little closer to home. And so we came back into town. We went over to somebody's house of people that I went to college with, that I used to hang out with in the cafeteria during my lunchtime there. And they all wore black and skulls and listened to real hardcore, heavy-edge music, and all were into all kinds of weird, dark, twisted stuff, and thought that they were absolutely fantastic. So we show up at their place, and the whole house is filled with people like that. And I realized, granted, I'm on mushrooms at the time, but every single person in the entire building, as I'm walking around, looked like reptiles. They looked snake-like, they looked insidious, they looked vicious, they looked violent, they looked just awful.
Is that how they can take mushrooms and not learn anything? It just blows my mind. I knew people like that. I couldn't figure out how. I mean, I was learning something from it. They didn't seem to learn anything from it.
Oh,
Right.
I know that. Yeah, I know.
I don't get it.
I mean, I could stay there for longer than 10 minutes before part of me had to go.
Or worse, they do the one-hit trip or something.
I mean, I just had to go. It was just awful. It was hideous. It was horrible. But standing there and looking around at it and looking back on it, recollecting it, not only did they seem so reptilian, but they all seemed so immature and childish at the same time. And I wonder how much that has to play with it.
You're leading towards an elitism that's sort of uncomfortable for me.
What?
It shouldn't be leading towards elitism.
Nothing's leading towards elitism.
I'm so much better than them. I'm so much smarter than them.
I'm not trying to say that I'm better or smarter than them. I'm just trying to relate what I felt when I was there.
Okay.
That's all. Okay. It was disturbing. I'm not trying to claim that I was anything more worse or anything else. It was disturbing, and I just couldn't stay there. If they're happy like that, let them be happy like that. I just deal with it. And this is long before I had any inclination or any understanding whatsoever about, even David Icke or the World Freeman Society or any of the stuff whatsoever. I mean, I was still in college and still was planning on going to law school at this point. But it was disturbing to have been in a place where there was that much negative energy going around. And looking back on it and thinking back on it, it was just so oppressive. It still is, even thinking about it. And it brings to mind the questions of the selfish, self-serving, childlike attitudes that are processed and believed by so many people. I am in charge of my own life. I get to do whatever I want to do, and it doesn't matter what you want. And then I
Government ultimately tells them what to do.
Well, but only insofar as the external things. I still get to listen to the music I want to, without realizing that the music that they listen to is dictated by elements associated with the government. Or I get to go see what movies I want to see without realizing that Hollywood's dictated by the government. And that's what bothers me the most about it, is that they have this idea of choice. It isn't really a choice.
Are you looking at your screen?
I am right now. The Masonic Lodge there, that is at 668.
That's their phone number. But if you turn around the other side, that's not what I was looking for. I remember that happened to be in the other corner. But there's a Crossroads Community Church, which is one of these big, giant, ugly buildings with the bullshit 501c3 controlled by the government things. I forgot there was a Masonic Lodge in the other corner.
Well, and I wanted to ask you about
the whole square here.
That yesterday on the show, the 501c3. That's a non-profit organization.
No. It's that the government controls what you can say when you do that.
Really?
Yes. That's the point of that.
So a 501c3 that's perpetuated as a non-profit organization.
Well, in exchange for your so-called non-profit status, you have to do what they want. You can't talk about certain things, and in times of emergency, you're required to preach Romans 13, things like that, like Hitler required, and it goes on and on and on and on. You have to, in case someone wants to deal with Satanism, you have to provide services for that. You would not believe what goes on.
Provide a goat if necessary, and a baby.
What?
Provide a goat and a baby.
Fighting on a baby, what?
Provide a goat and a baby.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. You're right.
Has to.
That's what's important.
Right, And it has to be an unblemished goat, all white.
Here it is. I found it. Crossroads Community Church. It looks like either a basketball arena. I'm not sure what. Yeah, right there.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, sure. It's a mega church.
It's non-denominational, as they like to say.
Non-denominational meaning. As
Luciferian.
Support the NWO. You're welcome in our church.
Yeah.
Have you picketed outside the building yet?
No, I don't do that.
Big, huge signs that say...
Yeah, I don't do that.
No? Not many people in Cincinnati willing to support that?
No, I just don't. What am I going to protest? And then the cops come and I'm arrested? And what use is that? I could never figure that out. And the people that you'd be protesting, they never listen. They're like, oh, I must be really powerful if they're protesting. I decided not to take your advice.
Is that your church then there?
That's the Greek church in Cincinnati. Holy Trinity, St. Nicholas.
That's where you attend when you go? Nice church.
I'm just excited by Street View by remote.
So glad I could give you access to my computer just for that.
Yeah, I love Street View. Is it any clearer over there? Is it real fuzzy?
It's still fuzzy. It's okay.
Oh.
Just part so power.
What I was really doing is I'm gonna give you a September clues, and now I'm gonna get all this hate mail now. Oh, you're talking no playing theory. Great.
Well, that's fine. Let them go ahead and send you hate mail. After having watched those things, though, I have the absolute thorough belief that no planes hit those towers. There's no way they could.
Yeah. Well, it's just officially we're not allowed to like that.
Well, of course not.
I don't know why. Who decided that for me?
The official line is that you're not allowed to. Don't you realize that you're on a contract to the government? You have a Social Security number, right?
Renounce it. I'm going to renounce the contract or revoke the contract or whatever.
Discharge the contract. Refute. Ooh, there we go. Refute the contract. Have to refute the contract. So yeah, it's the number of people out there that persist in being children without realizing how they're constantly being treated as children is just frightening in some ways. I mean,
It's not that many.
Well,
You live near more of them than I do.
yeah, it's quite possibly true that I live near far more of them than you do. For me, it's far more relevant in my day-to-day existence that they act and persist the way that they do. I mean, even within the church that I attend, among intelligent people that I have the opportunity to talk to and express things to and aren't deluded by the whole system, look at me like I'm crazy when I mention any of this stuff.
You need to be coming from a... see, before I ever spoke up, I had a tremendous amount of information. You have to come at it from an overwhelming information perspective.
And I try to. But I only have limited opportunities most of the time.
We have to help you out.
Well, and I want that. I want more information than I already have.
And see, you can't take it as you're an information elite, although it's hard not to. But
Yeah, so I understand. So, it's difficult and it's challenging. However, what I have found is that the people that have no religious affiliation are far more interested in the aspects of it than not.
no, but they can't really understand it any other way. If they don't have any religious concept, they tend not to be able to fully understand it because, for some reason, they don't see the problem with, like, zeitgeist, for example.
Sure.
Which sucks.
Right.
They don't see what the issue is.
Sure.
Like they can't. I find they can't fully understand it. But the worst part is then you can't win because they once you explain the Catholic post-Catholic religion thing, that's kind of alienating. To find out it's been corrupted, and then to find out that there was another option and you missed it. Plus, I don't advocate you join it anyway. It's been corrupted in recent times anyway. I don't know. I just went out. Is there another planet we can move to? I'm not going to Kolob.
That we can move to? I don't know, but as soon as you find it, let me know, would you?
I can't take it anymore.
Would be nice.
I almost wish I had never spoken up.
Not really. You're glad that you spoke up.
Great.
Had to. Shall I be a lamp hidden underneath a bushel?
Oh, you're killing me. Where's Caribbean credit? See, I'm just fully awake by the time the show ends.
Right? Which means you've got another hour and 13 minutes before you're fully awake.
I didn't even make any coffee yet.
I guess that doesn't bother me because, well, I don't drink coffee.
Good afternoon, good evening.
And good night.
So,
Hi,
what?
Cece, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Are you better today?
No, my nose is still streaming. I'm sneezing. I am burning up, but here I am.
Yep. He's a trooper.
Good for you. I heard a rumor that you may have something really nasty.
Could be dengue, yes.
Yeek.
But
I want to hear whoever it is that yells at you in the background.
I always want to hear whoever it is that's yelling in the background.
That was my dear wife saying I'm not dying yet. So, but the last time I raised that subject was maybe about a year ago, because all the males in my family live to, like, it's just one of those things. My father died just literally a week or two before his 100th, and all my uncles and what have you are in the high 80s and 90s. So at that particular time, I was just over 60. I said to her, "How do you fancy spending the next 40 years with me?" She nearly fainted. Poor girl.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
So there you go. So what's blowing in the wind today, apart from any dignity and what have you that Israel ever had? I think.
I'm sorry. Did you...
Yeah, give her her own microphone.
I'm just questioning real quick there, CC. Did you use the word dignity in Israel? Same sentence?
Yes, I said, I did actually, yes, and I apologise for that.
Yeah.
It felt like the world was coming to an end there for a second. I apologize.
Yeah, I've changed my profile, and I put it all in capitals now. And it reads, "Israel is so far beneath contempt, it is not possible to comment. No derogation could possibly be adequate."
Heck yeah. That was a whole bunch of tragedy and ridiculousness.
Well, I read a piece by Gideon Levy. He writes for Haaretz, one of the Israeli national newspapers, and he said exactly the same thing. It was absolute stupidity to think they could do anything like this. And I tend to agree. Not only it's a tragedy for the people who died, but it's now going to cause major complications between. Because my information is that Turkey is going to invoke Article 5 of NATO. Now, being as Israel is not part of NATO, that should bind all the NATO members. One country is attacked, it's as though all of them have been attacked.
So that, let's see, that includes...
Right, but Turkey has no concept of humanitarian aid. They're going to go there and rape them or something. They don't know what that is. They have to explain it to them from scratch.
Anyway, so if they do invoke Article 5 because it was an unprovoked attack on a Turkish vessel on the high seas, then all the other NATO members, including Britain, France, Germany, America, are supposed to come to the aid of the member who was attacked. It's as though Israel had attacked all the members. So the thing is, if they don't go forward with this particular principle, then NATO's finished. It'll be shown to be the farce that it is.
Oh, long.
So, there we go. Just thought I'd throw that one in.
They'll make up some other story about how...
Oh, apparently, according to the Israelis, these peace activists attacked their soldiers. You know,
of course. Had to.
They're insane. They're just insane people.
Well, because peace activists only are effective when they're attacking you.
Yeah, of course.
You're going to agree with peace even if I have to kill you.
You have to enforce it. Enforce it.
Well, you see, I mean, what? Even if they were mobbed, these soldiers, what do they expect when it was their choice to abseil onto the ships and make the first attack? If Israel's got a right to defend itself, so have the peace activists got a right to defend themselves.
Whoa! Hold on. That's anti-Semitic right there.
No. Apparently, you see,
isn't it?
apparently, according to, they haven't released the footage yet, but they're going to. The Al Jazeera network, they're going to show some footage which they claim shows as soon as the Israelis' boots hit the deck of that ship, they started firing.
Well, let's see. Setting your boots on the deck of a ship is an incursion of war, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an act of war and piracy because it was on the high seas.
So, if no one shoots at you until your feet hit the deck, you've incurred, by your feet hitting the deck, the act of war.
Yes.
That's like, I have no right to shoot at you or tell you to get off my property until you step on my property. But
Correct.
once you do...
Then that is an act of trespass, and if the laws allow, then you can, take them down. But Israel didn't. But Israel didn't wait for that, did they? They didn't wait for them to trespass on the illegal exclusion zone, because the exclusion zone itself is also illegal, of course.
Man, they're just sinking themselves left and right this last 7 days or so. What with the South African report coming out that Israel tried to sell them nuclear arms in the 70s?
Yeah.
And this? Man, they are trying to step this game up as fast as they can, aren't they? And hoping that they confuse everyone.
Because they're losing really fast.
What it means is, you see, unless there is a sanction placed on Israel, basically by default you're giving Israel the right to stop any ship on any bit of the sea, whether it's the Pacific, Atlantic, or what have you, board it and kill people.
Oh, it's frightening to think what's the fallout.
Well, they've got to do something, because if they don't, then, as I say, that just means nothing. Then you Israelis can do what you like. So I don't think it's going to go there. But the other piece of news is that the Turks are already putting another flotilla together, and this time they're going to sail down with their navy.
Yeah, that's the article I read. I didn't read it out though. I just thought it was the same thing. I thought they sent out the Navy in advance or something, or behind rather.
No, they're
new
going
one.
to. Yeah, it's a new one. They're going to put. But I think what they're going to do is demand that NATO warships join that to escort the convoy to Gaza. They're going to invoke NATO and say, right, you guys, you American warships, you British warships, you British submarines, follow this convoy. We've been attacked. I'm invoking Article 5. Now we'll see if they dare attack the lot.
Well, they should. But of course, and I hate to be this, problematic about it, it's not going to work out that way.
No, well,
What
apparently
they should do is the exact opposite of what's going to actually happen.
Yeah, they should have just let it through. They should have just let it through.
Right.
I mean, even if there were arms on board that ship, they're only going to be small arms or what have you, of no consequence to Israel whatsoever.
Yeah, somebody with a nuclear weapon, somebody who's been oppressing a region, it would be like stopping a boat from Sri Lanka to Vietnam during the Vietnam War that was carrying hand grenades. The hand grenades from Sri Lanka were going to be minimal versus the bombs dropped by, B-52, B-54s, etc., over Vietnam. Let them have the hand grenades. It's not going to do that much.
What do you mean, let them? The Americans were selling them to them.
Well,
That was a completely contrived thing.
what?
They don't understand what's going on.
Have you not
What?
noticed? Have you
We
not
were
noticed?
That's not a very good comparison.
Them?
Yes. No, we wouldn't do that, would we? We wouldn't arm Al Qaeda and the jihadists in Afghanistan with Stinger missiles and stuff so they could shoot down aeroplanes. Oh no, we wouldn't do that.
Which makes you wonder, did Israel supply the stuff for Turkey to be sending to the Palestinians anyway?
They did create Hamas.
Hamas.
My source on that is Yitzhak Rabin in the Jerusalem Post. I don't want something obscure.
Let's mention something that's indefatigable.
Let me just have a look. See what the latest headline. Apparently there's been Israeli embassies have been attacked right around the world, all sorts.
Oh no! Goodness gracious!
People are absolutely furious.
Yeah, but I bet they're not attacking the embassies. I bet that the Israelis are attacking the embassies.
Oh
See what
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean?
So
Their first move is
we
to
can
attack themselves.
So they can play the victim yet
That's
again.
right. That's right.
Oh,
Right.
we've been attacked. Oh, please stop. Yeah,
I mean,
they can play the victim again.
We could only hope that actual people were attacking the Israelis, but the likelihood of that happening is nil. So the reality is, I mean, you have to go to the usual suspects in these cases. So in the reality of the situation is, it would be them attacking themselves. You know, like the girl with the swastika on her door.
Cui bono.
Yeah. How does that benefit us? It just doesn't.
And have you noticed, nobody's willing to actually do anything about it. Everybody's just calling for an inquiry.
We know the Israelis are so much better at attacking themselves. Why should we bother?
Yeah, and then of course this inquiry is expected to be conducted by the Israelis.
They're going to look into it. They're going to find themselves guilty, of course.
Well, that's it's like you take a look at the American news reports where they talk about how American soldiers have been found guilty of attacking civilians and killing 28 civilians and blah, 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 blah. The soldiers involved have been reprimanded and an investigation is ongoing by the military. Reprimanded?
Yeah, reprimanded, yes. Yeah, hang on a minute. Hold your hand out. We'll give it a slap.
Dead? With a
Yeah, well,
handgun?
what they do is they tell the soldier to hold his hand out and they give it a slap. Don't do it again. Go away.
Don't get caught. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, and
Don't
then
get caught.
yeah, but you see, they whisper that outside the court after they've just had the slap on the hand. Next time, don't get caught.
All right. Or even the bailiff, when he's slapping him on the hand, he whispers that. Don't get caught. Don't
You see, their only crime was getting caught.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Commandment.
It always is. It always is. Getting caught. That's why the Israelis don't like this, because there was independent cameras on board showing the fucking attack.
Well, sure. If there were no independent cameras, they could have passed it off as whatever they wanted to.
Absolutely. So now you see, but that's just the slap on the wrist. You see, now we're expecting some real action, but of course, will it happen? Nah.
No, of course not. They'll create another major international event that will put Israel in the right.
They'll say these peace activists deliberately provoked. They deliberately provoked this attack.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Because of them, this attack that happened yesterday that we've been planning for 6 months.
Yeah. One of these peace activists deliberately threw his body at the man's gun.
My favorite defense against the cops is headbutting their fist.
No. In the United Kingdom, of course, it's headbutting the boot. You know, the steel toe cap boots. You got to do that, or else you're just not a real criminal.
Right.
You know? Okay. You're just playing at it unless you really give them a right big smack on the boot with your head or your nose, preferably your nose.
Generally, I like using my glass chin. So
because then it really, you know, if you hit them with your nose and it splatters your nose all over the face on their boot, then it definitely shows you've assaulted the police.
Completely.
And the policeman gets a pat on the back, and of course you do time because you assaulted the police. You know, it's real justice in Britain at the moment.
Thank you for helping out. We'll charge you with a lesser crime of being an accessory to police brutality.
Yeah. Oh dear. But what I found out with this last debacle with our friend Matt G is that these so-called denizens of the common law can't even spell simple words. Can't even spell. You know, in their reports and what have you, there's so many errors. Not just spelling and I mean the grammatical errors and all sorts of. I mean, it's just nonsense. Half the stuff they've written.
For sure. They don't need to know. I don't need no education to be able to prove that I'm better than you. When I moved back to Michigan from Portland, Oregon, I wound up starting to work for a construction company. And I've got a college education. I double majored in political science and philosophy.
Did you say you're going to go into the destruction industry?
Something like that.
What's wrong with you? Political science and psychology?
Philosophy.
Philosophy, either way.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what's wrong.
We'll fix you.
Well, my original plan was to become a lawyer. So, you know.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
but
we'll fix
You
you.
have to realize that I was that deluded by the system at that point.
my dear daughter, who's in her mid-20s, when she was back in schooling, taking the higher education levels, she was doing what we call the A levels. She took psychology and law. Because you've got to be a psychologist to be a lawyer, you know, so you can trick people into
Sure.
admitting things that they didn't really do.
Well, and that's why I wound up, when I finished off with my bachelor's, was I couldn't continue because I realized how completely and utterly stupid the whole system had become. That it was designed to prey upon the idiocy of people.
Well, people, you see, when you're in,
towards an elite attitude, you can't think that way.
you see when people go into a courtroom, the first thing they really don't understand that although they're speaking what they think is English, they're not. They're using the same words, but these words have been defined in an entirely different way, so they sound one way. You know, like when the judge asks someone, "Do you understand?" You're going to say, I mean, everybody thinks, "Oh, well, I'm bright enough. Yes, of course I understand." As soon as you say that you understand, what you're really saying is, yes, you stand under that statement. In other words, you're saying they're right, and you've got no defence. You're admitting your guilt right there and then.
Well, right, exactly, and that's...
Before the case even starts. Before the case even starts, you've admitted your guilt.
And that's part and parcel of why I had to get out of it, is because I realized that it was designed to operate on the supposed idiocy of people. It was... The whole structure was set up so that, I'm sorry, you're not smart enough to understand what we're talking about.
Well, actually, that's the whole point of the argument. That's why you are not clever enough or smart enough to understand the law. So you need to get an attorney to represent you. Well, no. I'm smart enough I understand the words you're using. And by the way, Judge, they aren't English. They're legalese. So you try me now.
Well, and I have a friend of mine on Facebook who lives in California, had her car totaled by a cop car hitting her. No sirens, no lights on the cop car or anything else.
What crime was she charged with?
She hasn't been charged with anything.
Oh.
But now she's pursuing...
the cop got off, right?
Now she's pursuing having her car taken care of, and I'm reading these comments on her Facebook stuff, and everyone's talking about, you need to hire a lawyer, you need to hire a lawyer, you need to hire a lawyer. And so
no, she doesn't. If she hires a lawyer, she'll lose.
Well, and that's... I wrote to her and said, no, issue a notice of understanding intent. Hiring a lawyer, by definition, means they're not going to work for you.
So I'm sure she's listening to you, right?
Yeah, hopefully. I dated her for a while.
There's no chance at all.
I dated her for a while in high school, so hopefully.
No, so she's, of course, not listening.
Thanks.
There's no way. I don't mean because of you, I mean because I realize how correct that is.
I'm going to have to record that laugh of yours, Estratius.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to record that laugh. Simply so when I make my really profound statements, I can just tack that onto the end of it.
Yeah. I learned it from Lonesome Roads.
I totally support that action. Do it. So, it's when you break it down and you get down to the opportunity exists out there to be able to redress your wrongs, to take care of the things that are actually happening around you, but this childlike status has been so imbued upon human beings through pop culture, through education, through what your parents have taught you, through what your grandparents have taught you, that it's difficult to get past those elements of control that have been pre-set up.
My grandparents escaped a almost complete genocide. They taught me the very things that we're talking about now.
And that's fantastic.
That's not believing the system. They even told me don't believe my own parents.
My grandparents weren't.
They told me my parents were brainwashed.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
And my great-grandparents would have probably said the same thing. But my grandparents wouldn't have. And my parents wouldn't have.
You see, in the whole... All these false impressions have been instilled in the population for many generations. So the problem we've got is even parents now instill the same false notions in their kids' mind. They are the parents, although they don't want to be, are part of the problem because because they've had it done to them and their grandparents had it done to them. So it's like, and it's instilled, it's ingrained in the psyche now. You know, and
Sure.
and you have to make a conscious effort to if you like unprogram that. It's like, okay, let's format that disc, boing, and now we'll put the real information in, shall we?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. I mean, the parents' generations influencing the next generation, influencing the next generation. I think that was the whole point of starting in 1913. Wasn't so that it would be done in one generation, but so that it could be set up so that by the time the second or third generation down the line existed, there's such an indoctrinated element that they go, well, I have freedom. I can choose to go to the movies or not. Yeah, but you don't have any choice of what you see. Yeah, I do. I can go see this movie or that movie or this movie or that movie. Yeah, but they all have the same idea behind them. What? No, they don't. There's different characters. There's different music. There's different people in them. Okay, go enjoy your movies. Have fun. Stay asleep. The problem, I think, is that so many people that are involved in the truth movement want it to happen right now. I mean, you listen to people like Alex Jones and stuff like that, and they want it to happen right now. And there's a failure to recognize that this has been perpetrated for hundreds of years against us. And we have to fight as equally hard, if not harder, for the same duration of time to
I don't know, you see. I think we can.
At the same time.
I think we once we reach a critical mass, because of the new environment we live in, with all this communication via loads and loads of different sources, the internet, mobile phones, everything, you know, the whole gamut of communications between everyone. Once we reach that critical mass, then I think we can take advantage of the herd instinct and get every body moving in the right direction all at the same time. Then we'll see the difference, and I think it'll be a rapid collapse once that herd moves. And it's the numbers that count, because these guys are few and we are many. Unfortunately, lots of the we are many are unaware that there's even really a problem. And so we got to educate these people, not indoctrinate them.
I don't know, I think we reached critical mass on a lot of these topics in 2005.
I hope and believe that you're absolutely correct.
Well, you can see it on just in a micro environment rather than a macro. You make a particularly good video, put it on YouTube, and suddenly it's gone viral, and everybody's looking at it. You know, millions are looking at it, and that's the sort of effect we need to create with the truth movement, where, you know, we get that sudden change of awareness, and people start.
But you have to realize too is that if you read the comments that are posted on a lot of those videos, they're trolling comments, there are all kinds of other things, and so out of 1 million views, you have to realize that a lot of them are repeat views, and a lot of them are repeat views by people who are looking for ways to discredit and destroy it. So out of 1 million views, you can really only count on about 50% of that being accurate. So,
well, see, plus there are people now paid to blog, paid to troll. There are Israelis out there who are paid to do this stuff.
Right, they go out there and they watch these videos and they purposely do everything they can to debunk, destroy, troll,
well, not debunk, fake debunk,
all kinds of stuff to get people who aren't aware, who are watching this, to think, oh, well, maybe this can't be true.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just because it has 1 million plus views doesn't mean all of those views are accurate. And I know I've watched videos and then gone back 3 weeks later and watched them again just to draw something more out of them. Does that mean that that's 2 people watching it, or is
No,
that
they count number of IP numbers. Your 2 views only count as 1.
Okay. I wasn't sure how that worked. Fantastic.
But the more you see, the thing is, though, the more of us that are becoming attuned to the truth, when these people do if you like, denigrate the basis of the truth that we're putting forward, then there's so many more of us than there is of them. We can jump on them.
Yeah, but when 1% of the population control 95% of the resources, even if we're 2 to 1 over them,
I mean, that's
far more resources than we do.
That's an unfortunate analogy. Because I used to be part of the 1% at one time.
Really? Well, this conversation just got so much more interesting.
Anybody can repent,
But you see, the thing, what my sister one time asked me about why I was doing all this, and I said, well, at my age, it ain't going to be for me, is it? It's going to be for my kids and their kids and their kids, She says, you're going to get yourself in serious trouble. I said, well, I've had a very exciting and lucky life. It's about time I give something back, and I don't give a shit. They can't take my 60 odd years away from me. I've already lived them.
Right.
So
what's the worst thing that they can do? Shorten your life? Be a little hard.
Just give us a second.
Already shortening it when you go and eat their food. The stuff they sell. Take the vaccine.
Right. Well, you see, and that's my big deal, is that, it's all fine and dandy for us to want to live life and make our wives happy or our husbands happy or our children happy and everything else. But at some point we have to recognize and realize that we aren't doing this for us. I'm not involved in this so that I get any great thing out of life or existence. I'm not doing this so that I become rich or famous or powerful or anything else. I do this so that my children and my children's children and your children and your children's children can continue to be free. I already have a YouTube account, by the way. So that they can continue to wake up every morning and not have to worry about what the day's going to hold. This isn't about what I get out of this. I don't get anything out of your freedom. But you get everything out of your freedom. And that's worth it entirely to me. The only thing I get is that that's another person who's totally free. And that's part of the reason that I think the NWO doesn't understand how this can persist and progress, because it isn't about consulting. It's about destroying the power that they think has to exist.
Destroying.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Deconstruction.
Yeah. Destroy for freedom. Destroy.
Destroy!
Yeah. When everybody be a tank. For freedom! Freedom!
Roy and Doom, 2 of my favorite punk bands. Oh well. There are days that I wake up and wish, just for the sake of my wife, I could go back to being an idiot.
Oh no. No, you can't go back to see if it doesn't work, even if you wanted to. It won't work.
And that's it. But there are mornings that I wake up and go, it'd just be so much easier if I could just be an idiot for the rest of my life. And then you have to realize that there's no way that could happen. and you don't ever really want it, but my God. At least my wife wouldn't just be all over my case about it.
I should probably just leave you. You wouldn't know why.
Thanks, appreciate it. It's happened more than once, Maggot.
That's what happens in most cases, though. They just, you wouldn't know it. Feminism would have just, crept in.
That's why I think after we do save the world, I think, screw them.
I think anyone
no
who
women in the
isn't
truth
willing
movement.
to be a part of it shouldn't benefit from it.
Right. Especially the more knowing they are about these topics.
The longer this goes on, I definitely think that's an absolute reality. If you only want to be part of the winning side, you lose. If you're only willing to be part of it once you sense that which you believed in is going to fail, you lose. Make your choice now. That's all it is. Make your choice now. Boy, I'm going to be divorced here in the next 2 days. It's nice that she can't listen to my show while she's at work.
Mm-hmm.
She probably can.
Yes, she could, but we're an uncensored show, and she works in an office that has censored radio broadcasts. So,
yeah, that's what you want.
Better
That's
with
freedom.
music behind it anyway.
you wonder
It's
what?
the freedom. The freedom.
You wonder what, Lenny?
I think it's better with the music behind it anyway.
Well, I'm sure. So as long as it's not live, maybe I can get her to play our. I think her whole office would shut down.
Well, you can play it on the talk show link anyway, because that's all the archive shows.
Right.
Anything on the talk show. But why would she play it?
Why won't she?
Why would she play it? Why would she play it? It's not if it's not Britney Spears on it. Why would she bother?
Let's see. She works in an office filled with women all between the ages of 18 and 50 who have a collective IQ, an average collective IQ of about
12.
75.
Yeah. We'll just tell her it's like Britney Spears in the background. Or one Britney Spears song.
Spears would make them happy. Ruth would make them upset.
So, was she not even affected by If You Seek Amy? I mean, when you explained that one didn't just kill the whole thing?
No, that one was whatever.
Oh, whatever. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they did this expose on major news just recently. These 9 and 10, these girls between the ages of 9 and 11, in a dance troupe in California, did a dance to Beyonce's "Put a Ring on It," and they're dressed in these.
The single ladies is the actual thing that makes everybody into the Borg.
Okay.
Oh God, the single ladies. That's enough to make me vomit on the microphone here.
But so they're like between the ages of 9 and 11, and they are dressed in these skimpy,
identical, but they do it in an identical fashion at the same time.
And they do everything in an identical fashion with the pelvic thrusts and the everything else. Exactly. But they're 9, 10, and 11, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And they're dressed in these skimpy outfits and dancing to the song and everything else. And it was filmed and put up on YouTube. And all these parents freaked out about how awful it is. And they did this whole expose about how, it's just part of culture, and you're just being prudes, and you just don't understand that that's just how things are these days, etc., etc. And talked with the wife about it, and she's like, I understand that it's not that great, but it's just music, and it's just, and that's the whole concept, that, it's not important because it's just the music.
Tell her we want to record a special episode. Just her. I'm dying to have her on. We'll have a special Sunday show. We're going to do this.
I will be
Great.
divorced.
Yeah, but maybe not.
No,
That's no
no.
problem.
I will be divorced. I will be told to get out, and the computer will be thrown across the room and shattered into a million pieces within the first 30 minutes.
Wow.
This I promise you.
Huh?
That sucks.
She's like She-Hulk or something then.
No, she is just that vehemently opposed to anything that contradicts what she believes is being truth.
Right, but I'm really good at this.
I'm sure. She doesn't.
I'm fantastic.
You're attached to me in the show. She doesn't care.
No. I'm just saying, I'm fantastic at getting this across.
Doesn't matter. You're attached to me in the show. You are already prejudiced against.
Oh.
Unlike walking into a courtroom in which you can ask, does this court operate without prejudice?
They taser you if you ask that question.
Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. It will be the instant she has a problem, she'll shut down and that's it. She
So
won't talk.
we're
she
the
won't.
enemy just because we're on the show?
No. It doesn't even have to be on the show. Even
She doesn't even
talk
support. She doesn't
in
support your
person.
radio show.
Not really. Did you hear what I said earlier?
Yeah.
When I mentioned that she told me this morning that this radio show will be the death of our relationship? No.
That's really sick.
Well, right. But once again, it's because she feels that my dedication to this radio show supersedes my dedication to her. Without realizing that my dedication to her is incorporated into the purpose of what we're doing with the show. Because what we're doing with the show is trying to enable and provide human beings with the tools for their own salvation, which includes my wife. So, my
Trying to find a different word than
for all
salvation.
humanity supersedes my concern for any one human being, even myself.
Well, really speaking, your efforts on the radio to promote the notion of freedom, if it succeeds, gives her real freedom, not all the bullshit she's suffering now.
Yeah, but it threatens her ability to control him.
Doesn't make any difference to her because she already thinks she's free.
Well, she's in control of you for the government. That's how they do it. They whip the largest slave, and then the women beg them not to do it. And they said, well, you control them for us. So then the women are working for the slave master?
Exactly. That's because women, and I hate to say it, and I don't want any of our women listeners out there to get pissed off.
What women listeners?
Well,
Can you find one?
Eh.
A woman listener?
Hey, I'm hoping.
A woman in the truth movement?
Eh.
Where? When you find one, then you can refer to them. Jeez. One. And usually they have some weird agenda when they do join.
Yeah.
Well, but unfortunately, it's because as much as they talk about looking out for and wanting to help as much of humanity as possible, they only want to do it within the construct of what they've been told is what they're allowed to do.
For their control of you, for the government.
But do you not? Do you not?
Name a single woman in history that has defied and caused
You
a
should
revolution.
you should understand that in every religion on the planet, the woman is a second-class citizen. Catholicism.
Not true. That is not true.
Yep, that's not
We
true.
have a whole experience where that's not true.
Tell me which one isn't then.
The Orthodox Church?
Christianity doesn't put women as a second-class citizen.
Especially in the Byzantine system, the women were not.
We're not talking Christianity. We're talking churchianity.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you get back to the reality of the Christian faith, then yes, you know that
Western
is.
Europe,
But
okay,
is that
I'm
really
with you.
is that really an organized religion? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. But Catholicism, the Church of England, the Anglicans are now just ordaining women priests, and the church is emptying like there's no tomorrow. This is just strange that 50% of the population is, if you like, denied the same rights as the other 50%.
Is it possible then that the advancement of women might be the supporting cause for moral relativism? Not that the advancement of women should be construed as
only in the phony feminist way.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
You see, I mean, the whole psychology of the way it works is that you've got this wife and you are her man, so they will humiliate you in front of your wife and diminish you in her eyes, and thus diminish you in your kids' eyes, and that's part of the whole control process. That you are being diminished by, it's why police, when they stop a driver and what have you, the man gets out, they'll beat the crap out of him in front of his kids and his wife. Diminishes the man in the eyes of his kids and his wife.
That's the agenda.
The thing is to destroy your credibility. Yeah, and that works all the time.
That's on purpose.
Once you
Of course it is.
they keep saying, they keep saying that the whole system is families to keep America strong. They're trying to destroy families. Doing their best.
They have for a long time now.
Yeah, absolutely. Same in Britain. Same. All in Western society now. The family is being attacked from all directions.
Well, it has to be. It has to be presented as what society should be, and pushed up to the point where everyone can suddenly go, oh, they're like the Sun King. They need to be destroyed and brought down by the revolution. And then the revolution occurs, and then the people that take over after the revolution are even more insidiously evil than that which was revolted against.
Unfortunately, it seems to happen on a regular basis. We need to look back in history and learn the lessons of history, but unfortunately it doesn't seem that is happening. When a nation oversteps the mark and becomes authoritarian, eventually it collapses under its own weight. But what replaces it is often more oppressive than the original fascist state.
Be careful that destroying the monster, you do not become the monster yourself.
Precisely.
Yep.
That's quite a good.
Yeah, but see that's in a natural system. This is set up so that on purpose that's what's going to happen.
Well, right, of course.
These are phony things that were set up to you know what I mean. That's why they had to kill the 2 points that I came out to talk about in the first place. When I first started speaking publicly, because there's no way to beat them otherwise. They wanted to fix it so that the solution to this system is fascism. Well, that's not a solution to this system. That's the same thing.
Fascism seems to be gaining strength by the day, and that's an unfortunate.
Well, that's because people are trained to hate everyone around them. Everyone around them is bad, and everyone around them is a criminal, and then automatically, we need to find an outside threat as well.
Getting to the Sunday shows that is posted up on our talk show, for us that Maggot recorded. You dealt with that with one of the people that was talking when they were talking about how when it comes down to it, my neighbor, blah, 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 never does this, never does that, blah, 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 so I hate him, and I'm gonna, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you launched into the guy, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant that you did so in exposing that that's what they're pushing us to, is that when everything collapses, the first people that we're going to lash out against aren't the people that created the collapse, but the people that are closest to us that we already hate.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Chill and destroy your neighbor because he doesn't clip his hedges.
Good.
I hate him. He doesn't clip his hedges. Let's kill him.
Yeah.
Not the Rothschilds. Not the Rockefellers. Not the J.P. Morgan family. Not any of the other banking families. Let's kill the person who lives next door to you, has nothing to do with that, just because you don't like the way he cuts his grass.
That's really sick.
Makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we're pushed into an element of believing, is that the people that are most at fault are those next door to us. You have to hate the people next door to you. They're terrorists.
Otherwise, you might consider getting together with those people and fixing the problem. And you're
God
they're
forbid.
They're terrified that might happen.
Yeah, well, the agenda's being pushed. You know, if you in the United Kingdom, if you are hardly ever seen on the street, and your curtains are always closed and your front door always locked, and you only you when you do go shopping, you only pay with cash. You must be a terrorist.
Have to be.
Absolutely, and by the way, if you see this sort of behaviour, report your neighbour to the police.
The problem is that's me.
Okay.
My shades are drawn. All
Report Lenny to the police.
I never go out.
That's it, Lenny.
Me ma me ma me ma me ma.
No terrorists.
At least in the UK, they always blast their sirens when they're driving down the road. Here in the US, they'll show up at your house and you'll have 12 cop cars around your house with no lights or no sirens.
Mm-hmm.
Just hear a knock on the door, they'll go, "Telegram! Pizza delivery!" I didn't order pizza. Telegram! And you open it up and all of a sudden 17 cops barge in your door.
Not if you've got a steel gate.
I'm sorry, steel gates are illegal here in the United States, so...
Locked from the inside.
That's alright, they'll shoot you through it.
Well, apparently that's exactly what they did. They shot that little 7-year-old girl through the neck from outside the house. And now, of course, the police chief is looking at banning these TV crews from following cops around.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Because we can't have the truth be told now, can we?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
It was the it was a camera crews that created the police officer firing his gun into a house that they were not in. I'm sorry, and the gun that was fired, it wasn't like it was the hair trigger on it.
Well, you see, the first claim was that the grandmother had barged into this policeman and he'd accidentally discharged his gun. Then the story changed again, and then of course the TV crew said, "Oh no, he didn't," and here's the footage. He shot from outside the house through the open door. Bang! There you go.
Well, even if this grandmother charged the cop and accidentally caused the gun to go off. Let's see. Why was the gun drawn in the first place? Why was it pointed in any direction that would have caused it to go off and shoot through a wall?
Because we're all dangerous to them. They're terrified of us.
Of course they are. They have to be. Because we have all the power. They have to be afraid of us. It'd be so nice. No one has to be in control. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Somebody wake me up when that happens, would you?
We have to fight to
Please put your trays up and your. Please put your trays up
get
and
there.
your
It's a fight to get there. There's no sleeping.
lock.
No sleeping allowed. Wide awake, 24/7, 365.
Come on, I need a nap every once in a while. Don't I?
You can't sleep.
You've been asleep your whole life.
Sleep
Up to
on
now,
it.
you
Electrocute him. Electrocute him.
been asleep your whole life up till now. Well, and now you've only got one eye open because we don't really know everything, do we? Now, I mean,
Keep
a lot of
working
it.
in time.
Yeah, we do know.
Maggot does, don't you?
Stratios and Maggot apparently know everything that can be known. So.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true.
Thanks for confirming that, Maggot. Appreciate it.
That's okay.
I do not believe this. I do not. Excuse me. I have to mute my microphone while I go and empty my the mucus from my nose.
That's
This
all.
cold is getting me annoyed. I don't feel ill with it. I just feel hot, and my nose just keeps dripping. Like it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I've got similar one, I think. Might even be the same one.
It's the swine flu.
Yes, and I get it because I'm swine.
You should be aware that we do have pigs across the road. There's a big pig farm here,
Yeah.
See, must be.
and I'm gonna have to stencil the Star of David on everyone.
Yeah.
We fully support that, and we'll send you.
Oh dear. Oh, that feels a little better. I blew me trumpet. So what else is in the news, boys and girls? I mean, what's happening in America apart from it looks like your manufacturing output has slowed somewhat this last month.
Have we gone to negative yet? Where we actually just take things apart?
I didn't even know you had any
it-
manufacturing output to speak of.
Yeah, to speak of.
Yeah.
Well, of course, they've got to have some manufacturing output. Who do you think's dropping all the bombs on Afghanistan and Iraq?
Yeah, we buy those from China.
Yeah, but they're all being built in Mexico.
All your American flags are imported from China.
That's a great thing. I actually found an American flag the other day that said on it "Made in China."
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Dear.
What's going on here in America? Let's see. They've manufactured a crisis in Korea. They helped instigate and perpetuate a crisis in the Gulf. And they've done all of that to distract people from any attempt by the Congress of pursuing an audit of the Fed.
Well, not just that, of course. The 189 nations demanded that the Middle East become a nuclear-free zone, which suggests then now that inspectors must go into Israel. Now, we can't have that, so let's create this little crisis. You know, let's kill a few freedom activists on these little boats, and now nobody will talk about nuclear non-proliferation, you know.
Well, of course not, because Israel needs to be able to defend itself
from unarmed peace activists.
Nasty unarmed peace people.
These pesky peace people are just getting in the way of Israel.
They're getting in the way of war.
You've got to understand that. If you don't understand that, you understand nothing. These pesky peace activists have to be eliminated.
Well, you see, I attribute a lot of my wife's inability to grasp this from the fact that she worked for the Ann Arbor Jewish Community Center. Now, she's not Jewish at all. She's whiter than the day is long. But she worked for the Jewish Community Center just before, during, and after 9/11. So her concept of all of that is debilitated by the propaganda that she was subject to every single day.
I have a photograph here of Nancy Pelosi. Oh, I've spit. And Barry Soetoro.
I hate him.
Ouch!
He's not the president.
Hang on a minute. Let me explain this little cartoon here. Well, it's not a cartoon. It's actually a photograph. And Nancy Pelosi says, "Hey, look, a taxpayer." And Obama says, "Quick, someone grab their money."
Yeah.
A Jew and a Catholic are walking down the road, and they see a bunch of little boys. And the Catholic says, "Hey, let's screw them." And the Jew says, "Out of what?"
Yeah.
Now, that is sick. Very, very humorous, but sick.
Same thing. Exact same thing, though. Barry and Nancy sitting in a tree, screwing the whole world's economy.
What's wrong with you?
Me or anyone else?
Just you.
Oh, well. I was dropped in my head a lot as a child.
Well, now I've loaded you up with no plane theory, so you'll be all set.
Yeah, good. Phew, thank
You
God.
got 9/11 Taboo, you've got 9/11 Octopus, and September Clues, and
Need to get an iPod now so I can put all this stuff on there.
I know, it's so freaking cool.
That way I can show it to people all over the place.
My dear daughter just had her birthday is on the 5th of this month.
Happy birthday.
And she has just taken possession of a 64 gig iPad. Good grief. You see, the two women in my life, my dear wife and now my dear daughter, are just complete gadget freaks. They've got to buy. If there's a new gadget out, there's agitation until one of them actually gets hold of one, you know. They've got to try everything.
What is that about?
We don't know. A new kitchen gadget, and it's now half of them are still in the shed because we've used them once and then they get put away because we haven't got room in the kitchen for them.
It's like every single time something new comes out, quick, you never have to crack your own egg. Just use this.
That's why I couldn't.
Make sure they jailbreak that iPad.
You see, I cannot imagine a Catholic and a Jew walking down the road.
Oh, come on! Of course they are. They both belong to the same cult.
That would be the Jew.
No. The Jew would be too lazy to walk.
Okay, so the Catholics carrying the Jew down the road.
Yeah, the
but
Jew.
the Jews have to lead the children to so they can drink their blood.
Right, and the Catholics know how to get a hold of lots of children. Why wouldn't they be friends?
No, the Catholics do it quiet. They get altar boys and things like that.
They do. I mean, it's normally approached in the confines of the confessional.
Right. See, the Jews lure them off the street. Candy. Doesn't that sound racist from the uninformed position?
It's only just from an uninformed position.
The problem is, after doing all this research, it's true.
Well, and, when I first encountered this, I was vehemently opposed to the whole thing. And then, after having done research and spent time looking into it and understanding it...
Well, I mean,
it's so...
The truth is, of course, I've been suckered into this, so now Lenny suckered me into this. Now
I told you would.
Well, I've been reading and understanding the Talmud, so now I must be stabbed to death.
Of course.
Right.
You are showering every day with steel wool, right? The only way to get its filth off.
Well, no. I do not belong to the Opus Dei cult of Catholicism, so it wouldn't be steel wool, would it now?
I just realized that they use steel wool. I thought they used actual steel.
Anything that penetrates the skin to suffer the what's his name of Christ, supposedly.
Right.
This is their crown of thorns. So they've got to have things sticking into their bodies.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're guilty all the time, and they have to be punished.
Yep.
Christ never mentioned that kind of a concept, but they just came up with it.
Yeah.
It helps donations.
Yeah,
right.
Well, they must be guilty of breathing. So, just strap this razor wire to your thigh.
Excuse me, you just mentioned it. You're guilty of the sin of confession. So, we're going to have to ask you to strap this to your thigh. Excuse me, none of you are talking. You're all guilty of the sin of silence. Please strap these barbed wires to your thigh.
Alright, let's wrap it up. It's almost 4 o'clock.
We'll get 6 minutes.
I need
I
a
can
nap.
still be idiotic for another 4.
I mean, the cat's here asleep. I need a nap.
Okay. Are you going to finish on my computer then? Okay. Well, I suppose we can wrap it up. You've been listening to American Freeman on the Freeman Radio Network. I am Don of the family Perry. We have had with us, as always, Maggot from the UK. Nothing British.
The Caribbean Critic, and I am Evstratius Constantine Brain as your responsible party.
Hopefully.
Yeah, president of the American chapter, World Freeman.
And I demand the right to say anything I please, because I'm a free man.
Excellent.
I don't ask anybody, I demand it. I do it. I've just done it. Goodbye, people.
Yeah, worldfreemansociety.org and tinyurl.com, WFS podcast. All right, let's wrap it up.
Woo.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, boys and girls.
Bye.